Hey everybody, welcome to the last cast here at Ohio River Outdoors, brought to you by Jan Dill's Attorney at Law. Today we're here with none other than Doug Tingler, the owner of Ohio River Outdoors. How you doing, Doug?
I'm doing good. Thanks for asking.
So we have a lot to cover with your podcast. There's a lot of history of this place and how you got here. For anybody that doesn't know, Ohio River Outdoors is arguably one of the biggest bait and tackle shops in the country, right?
We have been named the largest sole proprietor in the tri-state area. West Virginia High and Kentucky. We've won several awards from War II Fishing to, Parkersburg News and Central to Marietta Times. We've won several of them.
So why don't we just go ahead and start at, I guess, the beginning? How you even got into this place? I know you had a small bait and tackle shop before.
I had a small bait and tackle shop back in the 90s and lost it through a divorce. And I allowed them that I would build something one day bigger and better than ever. 2014, I started with just a little corner, small part of the wall and stuff up there. And overnight, it grew to pretty well what you see now.
So what was the original square footage?
The building is 235 by 80, and which has got an upstairs and everything to it too. But when we first started, I started with maybe 20 or 30 foot wall and maybe a few shelves, and just overnight, we started weeding the oil and gas store out of here, started to, more and more bait and tackle every week, and do you see what we got now? So
it started in 2014. The economy wasn't great then.
It was not. No.
So I would imagine, it's kind of a struggle on its own. But to go from like one shelf that you just had a few, when did you start progressing? Like, when in your mind did this go from just being that to like an actual store?
We was actually open probably 6 months before we actually started seeing, it really taking off. I started getting in, like Zepco reels and, some of the lower income reels and stuff like that. Then, it wasn't selling. And, we had people coming in asking for steeds and things like that. Then we started getting into the more higher rod and reels, and it just took over overnight. I mean, the tournaments and stuff started to, get more and more every week. And it just seemed like overnight it started growing. And, we owe it all to the fishermen. And
yeah, I mean, not only the local fishermen here, really owe it to you for taking that risk, because this is a big service to us as well. We always say that, especially those who listen at home, for says before, travel on the road as much as we do, if you run out of something, like, there's no other bait and tackle store that I can walk into. I mean, yeah, you can find a pack of Senkos just about anywhere. But to go into a store and know that I can find like a green pumpkin, purple fleck, chigger crawl, something like that, an accent, you don't have that at a lot of other bait stores. So, I mean, it was good for you for doing us the favor, honestly.
One thing about it, I fish this river, I beat this river to death, just, pretty well about the same as everybody else does. I've slacked off in the last couple of years, but, still, I've been out there enough to know what everybody wants. And
I was going to say, that makes a big difference whenever because you didn't necessarily, I mean, obviously you wanted to make money at this, but you didn't get into this just to become, a millionaire. You really have a passion for everything in the store.
Yeah.
I mean, not just bass fishing. You're always posting videos of you trout fishing and kayaking and just outdoors in general,
Last year, I started pretty well going over, all over the place. I think it was in 7 different states last year fishing and fly fishing. I'm leaving the 11th to go back to Canada, almost into Canada, to do some steelhead fishing. The 28th, I'm going to Lake Erie to do steelhead fishing there. I just bounce all over. We got trips planned to Florida. I'm just going to do what I like to do and keep moving forward.
The thing about it is that the more you do stuff like that, the more you learn about stuff that needs to go on here. I mean, it's the coolest part of the job, I guess. But before we get too much into that part of the job, back to like when the business was starting. I know you had a lot of business experience with running an oil and gas business, but I'm sure it was a big change to run an oil and gas business to run this and dealing with some of the vendors. And right, there's a special tax too, isn't there?
Oh,
Like
yeah.
a surcharge tax or something.
Yeah, you got a surcharge tax and stuff. Then excise tax.
That's what it is. So how long did it take you to get in the rhythm of dealing with the vendors and stuff here? Because now, I mean, if I go to the Classic and I'm standing at the Berkeley booth and I talk about higher route wars, there are 2 or 3 guys. I know Doug.
Yep.
So how did you like? What did you have to learn? What was your challenges there? Did you have anybody try to like snub you out too?
Yeah, I've had a lot of people try to do that stuff, and I take the negativity and keep building myself up, keep pushing forward. You talk about people knowing stuff like that. I was walking down the street in Nashville in January, and I heard someone holler, "Hey, High River Outdoors, love you guys!" And just by a coat, I didn't get to see who it was. There's such a big crowd up there, but 5.5 hours away, people know, recognizes and stuff.
Oh yeah.
It's been a super good run. I owe it all to my customers, owe it to God, and I couldn't have this without all that.
Definitely. I mean, especially God being more bigger parts of that than customers. If customers walk through where there's no money to be made to keep things running. One of the things I've often wondered, as far as like vendors that you deal with now, you have a lot of big names here, Berkeley, Zoom, Blue Rock, Cashin's another big brand. Which one was like the first big brand you brought in that you was working with directly?
The first big vendor that I brought in was Berkeley. Scott Castleberry come in and he sat down with me upstairs in the Oval Office, and he told me, he said, "Your first time order has to be $25,000. And I'm sitting there, I'm shaking, and how am I going to do $25,000 order? And I sit down with him, and probably 2 hours later, we walked out and we had a $32,000 order. And here I was nervous about placing this order, but I didn't realize not only do they have Shakespeare and the other names and stuff they have, and it was all said and done. It's pretty easy to write an order.
And honestly, if you're looking to go in store and buy Berkeley products, especially like Max and anything, this is the only store I could tell. Walmart has a really limited selection. I'll be honest with you, even if you go to Bass Pro so they had a Disney on Ice thing last week. My daughter went to it, and my wife and my mom and my daughter all in there, and I went to Cabela's and walked around. There was maybe 2 little things that Berkeley Max said. I was looking around to see if they had any deals or anything like that. There's nothing. I mean, your store, honest to God, has, if you're looking for any kind of Berkeley selection, you're about the only pick unless you go online to Tackle Warehouse or something like that, which now might be a good time to plug in. Speaking of online, that's something coming up soon, right?
We are hoping to be 2 to 3 weeks out to start an online store. And we have 50-some thousand SKUs that we're getting ready to launch. But one good thing about it, we have a big vendor backing us. And if we don't have it in our store, we can actually pull from their shelves. They will ship it straight to the customer.
So like a warehouse that you guys are using third party?
Yeah, we're using a big warehouse in Danville, Kentucky.
Is that where your warehouse and everything out of?
Everything's going to be warehoused out of the place in Danville, Kentucky. Yes.
Oh, that's going to be nice. You guys are going to have to deal with the shipping and stuff like that out of here.
Well, we are going to do the shipping and stuff out of here. If we don't have it on our shelves, we can actually pull from their shelves. And
so is this a warehouse you already deal with to buy your stuff?
This is a warehouse we deal with
every
day.
They're not like third.
Are you finally ready to buy that new pontoon boat for the family, or the new bass boat for yourself? Or maybe you even just need good, reliable, affordable service for the boat that you already have? Well, either way, you can get all of that at Seven Rivers Marine in Coolville, Ohio. Personally, I have trusted them with all of my marine needs for years, and honestly, you can't ask for a better group of people. Give them a call today at 740-846-0062. Again, that's 740-846-0062.
Party and your website.
No.
You guys are still, if I order, like a thing of Blue Rock jigs or whatever.
It'll still come out of here.
Okay.
And, like I say, if we don't have it on our shelves, all we got to do is go in and pull it out of their inventory, and it is direct shipped straight to our customer.
So if you don't mind me asking, do you see any obstacles between here and a couple weeks from now that you're keeping?
Right now, only obstacle, we got to have everything in this store inventoried. And, the girls have been working for about 3 weeks now, trying to get everything inventoried.
52,000 SKUs?
57,000 SKUs is a lot.
Yeah, that's
There's over 4,000 rods in this store. And
you know what's funny though? I was kind of laughing a second ago. I was touching this. We were talking about having to run a $25,000 check at Berkeley to get first order done. I want to imagine with the size of the store now, the orders you make, that's not even a blink of the eye.
I've seen times we go to ICAST, and ICAST is where all the new products release and stuff each year. And I've come out there with $150,000 to $200,000 order, and that's for a year, throughout the year. But a lot of the lower stores and stuff that we deal with are usually used for fill in. But just about everything we have in this building, we're direct with one of the companies, and that was the only way I can get the percentages and stuff, extra percentage off, is to deal with them direct. And my next hurdle and stuff is we are going actually trying to go with a buyer's group, and that would be the next discount that I have.
So I'm not really familiar with buyers group. I'm sure people at home are. What exactly it is?
A buyer's group is several people going together, say Berkeley Power Bake, stuff like that. Just not only me buying it,
but you're going to work with like
other vendors, other customers and stuff.
So you're going to work with like some other smaller vendors to try to place big orders.
Big orders.
That's actually a really innovative idea, because one thing I think that might shock people, with you being a business and this being your livelihood, people probably imagine that for other small tackle shops within your competitive footprint, you might not be great friends with them because you're competing against them. But truth be told, and like you just said, obviously you have a good relationship with even a lot of your competition, because, honestly, you can really work out a lot of things working together because even being the size that you are, I'm sure that if you would compare one of your orders to like a Bass and Robine from Berkeley, they have a lot more buying power, just the way it sits. But you partner with 2 or 3 other stores, you could really bring in some buying power that you get a lot of. But the thing is even competing against like Bass Pro the way that you do now, or any of those other bigger vendors. You just need a Sportsman Warehouse pull up in here recently. Your prices compared to theirs are always better.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure you have to eat some of that yourself to keep up with with what you make in numbers. You definitely have a lot of loyalty from people in the area.
Sportsman Warehouse, they buy bigger volumes than me, but they're not just buying for one store; they're buying for 4 or 5 stores. And hopefully by this time next year we'll have a second store. That's been my goal. I've been looking up around Mansfield and stuff for another place, and
I'm excited for the second store.
Yeah, I am too.
Yeah,
and I think it'd really do good and stuff in the high, up in that area and stuff.
Definitely.
Yeah. We're getting close to Lake Erie and everything.
So now I have probably one of the most important questions everybody at home is going to be thinking for this entire interview. Since you run, again, one of the biggest bait and tackle shops in the country, you deal with every vendor that you can imagine, and I'm sure you have people here trying to hustle baits to you all the time. So I guess 3 different categories I want to go with. Number 1, when it comes to soft plastics, out of all the vendors you deal with, which one would you say is your preferred soft plastic?
Zoom.
Really?
I have caught more fish on Zoom lizards and probably anything out there. A Zoom fluke. Yeah, you use Zoom flukes yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're talking a $5 bag of plastic. A lot of them, you get anywhere between 10 to 20 baits in a bag of Zoom. And
their prices you can't beat.
Zoom's probably my number 1 seller. Out of all the baits and stuff in this building right here, I probably sell more Zoom baits than Gary Yamamoto, Berkeley, whoever it may be, that's going to be my number one song.
So if you was comparing, is it a Zinke? Is that what
Yeah.
Zoom Senko is? Is it Zoom Slinky or whatever?
Zinke, yeah.
So if you was comparing like the Zoom Zinke to like a Gary Yamamoto Senko, which one would you say?
I still throw a lot of Garys, and
Yeah, they sing so much better.
They do.
But I'll be honest with you, I've caught a lot of bass in the river with Zoom.
I've caught a ton of with Zoom.
I'll tell you something. I'm sharing my secret with everybody here because I, if there's one bait I can say, I probably can. There's a few people I'd say have an advantage over me with the Senko that, like, it's really what I cut my teeth on. The first 3 years, I think. Yeah, okay. So I know my way around a Senko really well.
Yeah.
But I will say when it comes to Senkos, like, if I want to throw an unweighted, like without a male weight or anything in a Senko, Gary Yamamoto all the way. Because of the way it sinks and the way it goes down, I think you have more bites. Now, if I wanted to put like a nail weight in like a small Senko or just a nail weight larger than a 4 or 5 inch Senko, I'll use the Zoom before you get it, just because one, they're a little cheaper, but two, once you put that nail weight in there, you get the sink that I was looking for with the Gary Yamamoto. But you also, like, it gets that action, I think you're not really getting a whole lot of extra action with the Gary Yamamoto once you put that weight in there.
Yeah. So I'll let you in on a little secret.
Oh,
so we have been in the process for almost a year now designing our own brand of Senkos. And within the next 2 weeks, we're going to release 40-some different collars of our own brand.
I'm sure we'll see some. I'm sure this is a secret to everybody else. Me and Doug have talked about this for a while. I'm sure we'll see some videos on my YouTube page of me putting some of those Senkos to work. I'm excited for yours.
I mean, we've played with Zoom. I mean, we've played with Missile. I mean, we've played with about everything out there that's got a stick bait. We've been playing with them, trying to get the buoyancy and everything about the same as your Yamamoto's, but a little bit tougher.
Are you still working with a third-party vendor?
I am still working for a third party or with a third-party vendor and stuff on them.
Yeah, because you like provided the molds.
And we bought our own molds and everything.
You're providing pretty well the recipe and everything, and you're just working with him. And this is the guy that already makes bulk baits that does a really good job.
We actually was talking to Southern Plastics, and they wanted just for, say, if you just bought one green pumpkin Senko, I had to buy 10,000 of every collar that I wanted to make. We was going to buy 40 different flavors.
Yeah. And,
of 5s, 4s, and 3s. And, I'd had to buy, 10,000 of every one.
Is that what you're going to do with these is 5, 4s, and 3s?
We're hoping to get 5s, 4s, and 3s rolling. Right now, we're going to release the 5s, see how they do for us. Then, we're just going to start adding more and more stuff of our own brand.
You're doing around 40 different colors?
On 44 different colors.
What's your favorite one?
Green pumpkin.
What do you think?
Yeah, green pumpkin, black on the river and stuff like that. But, when I started playing with this last year, and you know how tough it was at some times and stuff last year, we come up with one collar that I took out and was catching fish on it when my partner couldn't catch fish. And, ended up giving him one of them, and he started doing the same thing. He started catching them and putting them in the boat too.
Are you going to be selling that collar?
I'm not for sure yet. Maybe not for, half of the year next year.
You're going to wait till after the Bass Festival.
I'll wait till after the Bass Festival. Yeah. When you got $25,000 on the line, it might be a hidden secret touch of the festival.
Well, it'd definitely be a good sales pitch for you if you won the Bass Festival with that Senko and you got to stand up afterwards with your bag of plastics and say, right here's what I caught them all, boys. But sad thing is, unless you got it on picture, nobody believes the fishermen when they say that.
That's the truth. You got 200 and some fishermen out there on the water that day, competing for the same thing. Everyone's competing for that, first place trophy and that $25,000 check. And it would be nice to win them on your own baits. And,
oh yeah,
I mean that would be a dream come true.
Oh yeah, definitely. Before we go into some of your tournament experiences, I actually just thought of a question. So, talking about the bait shop and not believing most fishermen, I'm sure you get to hear some of the most outlandish. I mean, you're around fishermen all day long. When it comes to BS, and you're around some of the top-notch, top-tier.
Oh, yeah. I've heard it all in here. I just, since 2000.
Hey, do you live in the Middle Ohio Valley and need a good, affordable, reliable residential contractor that can take care of all your construction needs? Well, look no further because Bowser Construction on Dudley Avenue in Parkersburg has you covered. They specialize in doors, decks, porches, kitchens, bathrooms, and room additions. So remember, just call Bowser at 304-485-6930.
2014, I've met a lot of wonderful, wonderful people.
Oh yeah.
And become friends with a lot of wonderful people and stuff. But still, when it comes to fishing secrets and stuff like that, no one's going to tell their secret.
Yeah, so a funny story about that, and for anybody listening at home, if you're wondering if Doug will keep your secrets, I have a good one for you here. So a really good friend of mine, Marshall, there's a certain crankbait that he uses, and Doug knows exactly which crankbait it is. And I remember one day I came in here and I looked all over the store because I know exactly what I was looking for. I just couldn't find it. And I looked at Doug and I said, "Hey, Doug, do you have any of those crankbaits that Marshall throws?" And Doug looked right at me and he said, "Yeah." And I said, "Where are they at?" He said, "I can't tell you."
Yeah, I've told all the girls and stuff. Anybody that comes in, you don't remember what they used. If it was green pumpkin purple or crankbait, whatever it was. I don't know.
So. I'm not asking to put anybody on the spot here, but do you ever have people in here ever come and ask, like, "Hey, what's such and such?"
Every day.
Really?
Every day. And you'll see fishermen, when they come in and stuff, especially when it's getting closer to the Bass Festival and stuff, they'll come in and get their stuff, and you see them walking through the store like this. And it's funny to watch it because when they get up to the counter and dump the basket, it's everybody's exactly the same thing, throughout the store. Everybody's bought that bait.
Well, the funny thing is, one thing that you'll notice whenever, you don't have to worry about too much. One thing that you'll notice whenever it comes to especially Bass Festival, I'm not going to release any big secrets here. If you walk down these aisles and you can't find pink anything anywhere, I mean, it's not like it's a hidden secret what everybody's buying because you walk down the aisles and the shelves are emptied with one color of this and one type of that. A lot of times it's pink, but chartreuse is in there too.
And you got the guys now that they have started going around and looking at the tags because everything's wrote on the tags, the color of the bait, the size of the bait, and everything else. And so you got customers coming in and looking at that tag and they know, oh yeah, green pumpkin's completely sold out, not only in 5 and 4 and 3, but sold out in lizards or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
And so then now they're looking for, green pumpkin black or.
But, the crazy thing is, and I guess it's even kind of funny, if you ask any fisherman that's been competing for a while, they'll all say the same thing. Like, it doesn't matter if somebody actually knows what you're using or not anyways. Yeah, because, they don't know where you're using it or how you're using it and that kind of thing. But whenever it comes to walking through the store, none of them believe their own theory on that. They don't want anybody to see what they're using.
Exactly.
But then today, for me, I make YouTube videos about what I'm out there doing. And I really don't worry about it because I've been fishing, like one of my really good friends, Alan White, I've been fishing with him. He loves to flip. That's no big secret. I've been fishing right behind him or even in front of him on my boat, flipping the same jig, same creature bait, same everything. And just because I don't have the tenure that he does and some of the knowledge that he does, I don't catch near the fish that he does.
But that could be line weight. That could be action to the pole. There's so much stuff that goes into that. I've been fishing with partners and stuff before, and I'm sitting there, catching them left and right. I'm using a medium action pole. I'm using 8-pound, test line and throwing the exact same bait they are, but, they're throwing a medium heavy. They're throwing 12-pound test line. It's just the difference in the feel, difference in the rods. There's so much that goes into that.
People think I'm crazy when I say, like, if you're throwing a square bill crankbait, I don't go over 8-pound test.
I don't either.
Yeah, I think it messes up the action. I think it messes up the way the fish see it. And a lot of people, I can't believe you're not throwing out at least 12-pound test. But, honestly, a good example, my personal best was a 6-pound. It was right around a 6-pound smallmouth. It was just off of being 6. It was high fives. I can't even remember the exact weight. It was almost a 6-pound smallmouth, and I caught it with Chautauqua on. It was either 6-pound test or 8-pound cigar fluorocarbon with a Senka. It was my bait caster And I had a sinker that I just had Texas string that I was throwing on like on a grass line. And I remember when that fish hit, I talked about it in the last episode with Jesse French. I remember when that thing hit, and at first I thought it snagged, so I was just like, what the heck? And then the fish was moving with it, and then I felt it jerking. I was like, oh no. And I started reeling it. At first it was swimming with it, so it didn't feel that big. And then that thing came and jumped out of the water. And my heart sunk because my first thought was, man, I'm throwing a 6-pound test, and I haven't retied 2 days. And there's probably a nick in this line. And I remember I don't even remember lips netting the fish. It was just such an adrenaline rush that the last thing I remember after like that was when I finally picked up the fish. I was like holding it in my hand and thinking, like, I've never held a fish this big in my life. Like, I remember holding it, was like to my kneecap. I was like, my goodness, this is a fish, son. Yeah.
So what is your personal best? Is that the
That was it right there. Yeah, just right at 6 pounds.
I've gotten an 8.2 and I can't break that 8.2. I've tried, and it just seems like every year I just keep going less and less and less.
Yeah. So is that in West Virginia? Is it a 8.2 in West Virginia?
No,
or
it
did
was
you
not.
travel?
It was in Virginia.
Yeah, that's the only downside of being around here. I'm kind of new to traveling, so like my personal best was in Chautauqua. But everybody I know that has anything really over like a 5, for the most part. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's been a couple of 10-pounders caught in West Virginia, and there's been a few pictures I saw that look pretty legitimate. I mean, there's been some big ones caught in West Virginia, but for the most part, like if you catch a 10-pound fish in this state, that's a once in a lifetime. That's a rarity. Like it might only happen. It'll probably only ever happen once for you. But now you get down to Florida. I know they're fishing at Okeechobee right now, and I think the one they weighed yesterday was 35 pounds, and that's light for down there. Like,
so I've been to Florida. I don't know if you've been to Florida fishing and
Yeah.
stuff. Been to Florida and stuff, fishing and stuff, and I can't. It's just like I'm fishing on the high river. Pound and a half, 2 pound, 3 pound. I can't get that. I can't get up into the 6 pounds or.
You could ask the Seven Rivers boys. They fished a big tournament down there at the Fisherman Nashville last year. I think they placed third. But they didn't even tell you, like, their first couple of days, they were doing just as bad as they would on the river pretty much. And then they said they just got one spot and it was loaded up with nothing big ones. And that's what I've heard a lot of that about Florida, about if you're not from around there, or if you're not like with a guide, or if you don't have it's all luck, trying to find a good spot. Which, I mean, everywhere's kind of like that. You have spots that are good and spots that aren't good, but it seems like, there's a few lakes I can kind of think off the top of my head where no matter where you go, you're going to have a good day. But I've heard Florida can be a really good day if you know where you're going.
You can be a good day and stuff down there, but just a slight little bit of temperature drop and stuff down there, and it's like fishing on the high river.
They're not used to it.
They're not used to it.
Yeah, they like that warm water. Yeah. Well, I mean, so when we fished a tournament at Smith Mountain last year, they have Florida strain bass down there. And I'll tell you what, it whooped my rear end. It was a completely different, I don't know, they just seemed to group up different than anything I've ever really messed with before. And unfortunately for us, we did have a temperature drop, like right as soon as we got to Smith Mountain. And the first day, we didn't catch them. We only had 3. And the last day, we got a limit, but barely.
Smith Mountain is probably one of my favorite lakes and stuff.
It's an interesting one.
Until all the pleasure boats and jet skis and stuff start coming out, then it is just a miserable lake.
Yeah. One of the pros lives on Smith Mountain. I think Jordan Lee lives.
John Cruz lives down there. He's got a place. His place is right there in Salem, Virginia.
Yeah. I think it was Jordan Lee that they interviewed last year. That they were going to have an MLF or a bass or something at Smith Mountain. They were going to do it in like July. And Jordan Lee did an interview, and he was like, "It's going to be the worst tournament you guys ever had." And they're like, "Smith Mountain's a great lake," and he's like, "It's not the fishing's going to be bad. So there's going to be 8-foot chops everywhere you go."
Yeah, my first experience of stuff down there, the daggone jet skis and pleasure boaters. I mean, they didn't slow down.
Oh no!
I mean, they see you there. The jet skis was doing circles around you and everything else, and it was a miserable day.
Oh, I imagine.
Trying to fish, and
so I know out of all the lakes you've fished, I guess 2 questions. 1, what's your favorite lake in West Virginia, big or small? And 2, what's your favorite lake outside, just your overall favorite?
Stonewall, probably one of the favorites, but my all-time favorite is probably Hartwell. Yeah. The first time I ever fished Hartwell, I fished it with Frank Douglas.
That's the one I take the big trip to every year.
We get down there and stuff for.
So you go on that trip?
Yeah.
Who do you normally fish with?
I've done a lot of fishing with Frank, and I'm down there. I've fished with several different people and stuff. But Frank's one of better ones and stuff.
I was gonna say Frank knows Hartwell pretty good by what I understand.
He's won it several years, and it's just a blast fishing with him and stuff. And
Yeah.
the first time I ever went down and fished with him, I woke up the next morning and I'm just bruised all across the stomach. 100 fish in the boat. We had one point that we blast off at 7 o'clock that morning. By 7:20, we had our 5 fish in the live well and started calling. And the rest of the day, you just call. And it was just a blast.
That's a good way to get hooked on a lake right there.
It is awesome down there.
So, do you go every year with that group, or?
I have been, yeah. Last year I didn't get to go and stuff, but hopefully get to go this year. Actually, right now I've been looking at a brand new boat, so hopefully, here in May we can pull the plug, get a brand new one and stuff to start doing a lot of traveling with.
Yeah, you got to put some miles on that Ford.
Got to put some miles. Actually, I just got a new truck, so I can.
Oh, you got it looks the same as the old one.
Yeah, well, that's still the old one, but I just went and bought a brand new one too, also. So
I was going to say you must like that color.
Hey, are you or somebody you know a veteran that needs help fighting the VA for the benefits that you deserve? If so, you need to give Jan Dills a call. I can say from personal experience that Jan Dills and her group of attorneys will fight for you to the bitter end. If you're fighting the VA, you need the attorneys that won't take no for an answer. Give Jan Dills a call today at 877-755-7183.
new one's white, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ford, you stick with Ford?
Yeah, I went with a Tacoma. Just bought a brand new 2025 Tacoma.
Tacoma or Tundra?
A Tundra. Yeah, Tundra.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
So Bill Kennedy must have rubbed off on you there.
He did.
Yeah. So have you made up your mind on which boat you're buying? Or?
I have not yet. We've been looking at one from Cashion Rods and stuff.
Yeah.
Been
It's a sharp looking boat.
it was a sharp looking boat. It matches my truck.
Yeah. I mean, unfortunately, the other boat she's looking at doesn't look like that's going to be an option. I don't think. Situation there. But yeah, I mean, is it brand new or?
It's brand new, yeah.
So what, does Cashion get like a dealer boat every year? Or?
No, they just opened up. One of the guys and stuff worked with them. Just opened up their own dealership.
Okay.
Right there in Sanford. So.
And you have a pretty good relationship.
I have a really good relationship with Cashion.
Yeah. How long have you guys been doing business together?
We started with them in 2014.
Also, they started with you when you were new.
Yep.
And they were probably kind of new back then.
They was fairly new then. I think they'd been in business a year or two, and they took a chance on me and worked out real good with us. And, we've been with them ever since. We're first name basis. My situation and stuff with cancer and everything. Every day they're praying for me. Every day, they'll send me a text or something. Hey, we just had these prayer meetings and stuff this morning, and that means a lot.
Yeah.
And it's been a really good relationship with them.
So it sounds like they're big enough to provide, all the rods and stuff that they do, not small enough to still, really have value in the relationship with them and stuff like that. Which, I mean, if you don't mind talking about it, speaking of your cancer, that was a big shock.
It was.
2 years now that you've been diagnosed?
It will be 2 years in August.
I mean, you're looking healthy.
Year. I feel good. It's in the Lord's hands. I ain't struggling with it. I ain't, worried about it, because I know to take care of it.
Yeah. I mean, was it once a month you go for treatment still?
I go every 30 days, get immunotherapy, but I take chemo every day, 4 chemo pills a day now.
Yeah. I mean, you must be one tough dude to be.
Ain't gonna slow me down.
It hasn't. I mean, it really hasn't, honestly.
And, it's given me a different outlook on life and stuff like that. Before I was running around the clock 7 days a week, the oil field stuff, and, plus in here, and, I was nonstop moving. And, in the last couple of years, I've slowed down. I do what I want to do. If I want to go fishing tomorrow morning, I'm taking off and, I'm going. I got a good bunch of girls and stuff that work here, and, they're amazing. Courtney and Mallory and all of them. I mean, just amazing bunch of people.
Yeah. So you definitely live life to the fullest a lot more now.
Trying to live life to the fullest.
Wow. I mean, we're all really guilty of it. And I'd say, especially, somebody younger than myself, is probably more guilty of it than, somebody, a few generations ahead of me there. But no matter what age you are, nobody really thinks about the chances of, your end or your mortality, or it's not something people like to think about. But whenever the doctor gives you that kind of news, I mean, you really have to.
Oh yeah.
You have to face a lot of realities. And it probably gets you to think about life and what you want to do and what things that you want to accomplish before that day comes that you gotta go meet the Lord.
Yeah, when I first got told that I had cancer in 8 places, I struggled. I mean, I was beating myself up. It was rough. And, I just woke up one morning and, why am I doing this? Why am I putting myself through this? And, putting all of blame and stuff on myself. What did I do wrong? And stuff like that. It's not my place to ask that. And, I had to really sit down and put it all in the Lord's hands. And, what it is, it is. If it's meant to be, it's going to happen. And, by going to Columbus to the James Hospital, I've seen kids, I've seen older people, it don't discriminate.
Yeah.
I mean, all walks of life, and it happens to them.
Yeah.
You just got to put it in the Lord's hands and walk away from it.
So, right from the beginning, was your mindset like, I'm going to beat this thing? Or
it was, yeah. I know that I'd beat it. I know that I'll ring the bell one day and walk away from it. And, I wouldn't.
I mean, I gotta say, I've told you this 100 times. For somebody battling cancer, there's never really been any point that I've been around you and thought, if I wouldn't have known that you were sick, I would have never been able to guess. Like, it wouldn't have been at the top of my head. Your spirits and just the way you've handled it, I guess, should be a testament to everybody.
Oh, it's
I think the way you handled it up here really has a lot to do with the end result. I mean, keeping a positive attitude even whenever you're dealt with severe adversity. Being able to have the mentality that you've had the whole time and putting this in God's hands. Have faith and love for the people around you who care about you. And I don't know, you've been an inspiration to me to try to do better with my own life, even though I don't, for a guy that dealing with the struggles that you're going out here and living life to the fullest every day. You haven't let anything stop you. So, I mean, here I am healthy. Why let anything stop me, right?
And that's the truth. I mean, the past is the past, and you just got to keep moving forward every day.
Yeah.
And one thing about it, I have gotten people call me from all over the world and tell me that they're praying for me and everything's going to be okay. And how the news has traveled around the world, other states, other countries, and everything else, that people has found out about the cancer. And, it's been amazing.
Well, I mean, I could actually probably speak on a couple of different things. So we were talking about how you were in Nashville, because somebody was like, hey, I heard Outdoors. There's a lot of people that know you because of the service, you provide. But I think one thing that's really led to a lot of your growth is, like you just said, the people called you from all around, to tell you to pray for you and stuff like that. Well, obviously, because of your passion for people and just you being you, and you're a really genuine person, I think that's what led to this, one, the success of the store, but two, everybody around you that is such a support system. Even doing business with you, you're more than a business relationship with me, and with Cash, you're more than just a business relationship with them. Because of, I guess, how much you really do care about people and stuff like that, it really shows, what kind of person you are, and it shows that if you're able to take more like this business relationship that you have with all these people, if you're able to take that and have it turn into people from all around that want to call and support you in your time of need, it really shows, who you are as a person and what kind of effect you've left on the people you've been around. Because, I can't really think of any negative encounters I've had. You have fished against you a lot, which, that kind of sucks sometimes.
Not always. So I get more enjoyment out of helping others, and I've always been that way. Even in the oil and gas side of it and stuff like that, I feel that the Lord has given me the opportunity to have these businesses to help others. And, Christmas time, we try to help a couple families and stuff each year. And this year it had really got big.
There's a lot of people in need this year.
This year, a lot of people were struggling and stuff like that. And, the people in the community, people outside the community, it was just amazing. I had people from Charleston call me and tell me, hey, I'll pitch in and I'll help you. Let's get this done. And so Ohio River Outdoors was able to help 7 families ourselves this year. Plus we was able to raise $5,000 for a woman in Clarksburg to have a new heating system put in her house. And we done that within 30 minutes. I could not do that without the help of others. And, so I don't take none of the glory from it or nothing like that. It is all from everybody else. So the woman who owns the Mountain State Creamery, 1 o'clock in the morning, she's calling me, help, I need help. And the angel tree and stuff like that, there was 12 kids that was not picked. And so I jumped in with her. We done a live broadcast and stuff on Facebook. Within 48 hours, we had 20 some families, enough stuff to donate to 24 families. Plus we raised the money for 60 hams for, a couple organizations and stuff. And doing stuff like that means more to me than being out on the river fishing or, anything you see in this store. I get more enjoyment out of that than anything. And, when it comes to kids, I'm a big kid at heart. I love kids. And, I love seeing smiles on their faces.
It makes sense that you're a kid at heart, considering you work with heavy equipment, oil and gas, and a fishing store. I mean, you live the life of a big kid.
Yeah.
You live the dream that every kid has growing up.
Hey, y'all. It's Jordan with the Getting Bit Fishing team, and I just wanted to take a moment to say thanks for checking out our podcast, The Last Cast, filmed in the one and only Ohio River Outdoors, located at 13520 Emerson Avenue, Williamstown, West Virginia. If you've never been here before, this place has absolutely everything a fisherman can need. Come swing by today. Come see Doug. Trust me, if you've never been before, it's worth the trip.
I started my first business in 99, and I started with $100 in my pocket and an old beat-up truck. And everybody laughed and made fun of me. Even my own family and stuff told me, begged me to get rid of it. Told me, you won't have it for 6 months and you'll be under. And I took all the negativity from that and kept it growing. There's been times that, how am I going to make payroll tomorrow? And, struggle and stuff like that. And, but it always has, came through. We've always been able to provide, for our family and everybody else, around. And it's been great.
Yeah, well, back to a lot of the donations and stuff that you do or that you work with trying to help, like the tree that you're talking about. You grew up a lot similar. You grew up in a similar area that I did. There in Richmond. You grew up in McFarland, right?
Yes.
And for anybody that's aware geographically of this area, I didn't grow up with a whole lot of money. You didn't grow up with a whole lot of money. It's not like we had thousands of dollars at our disposal growing up to go from, I guess, where you were to where you are now. You might have a better life for yourself, I guess, per se, but you never forget, no matter how far you make it, or at least most people don't, or the good people don't forget, what it's like to be that kid that maybe didn't have a Christmas. Or we all have friends that maybe when we were younger we didn't realize it, but looking back at it now, you realize that they probably didn't have a Christmas or a good Christmas, so they might not have food on the table. And even myself, just being a regular working guy, me and my wife try to donate where we can to help people, because we both, we were fortunate enough growing up that, I always had Christmas and we always had food. But my family didn't have money to spare by any means.
Same with ours.
Yeah, and there's a lot of times that I just think to myself, what if this was my little girl that didn't have a Christmas? What if my luck was just slightly different, and I could provide a Christmas for her this year. If I have an extra $20 in my pocket that I can donate towards a cause like that, I'll probably never miss it, to be honest with you. You know what I mean?
And it feels good to, pass it on to somebody.
It does. It does. It feels rewarding at the end to help somebody. I always say the probably the most rewarding job I ever had whenever I was in the military. My last year, I worked a special bill at the Naval Station Portsmouth Hospital. I worked in the Wounded Warrior Center, so I was an LPO, lead petty officer, for a group of sailors that help work with, like, we had a bunch of injured Marines and sailors that got injured in combat. That was the most rewarding job I ever had, because you would show up to work one day just in a bad mood about whatever was going on in life, meaningless things, bills, stuff like that. Show up and you meet a guy that he's missing an arm or a leg, smiling from ear to ear, just happy to be there, happy to be alive. And to be able to meet guys like that and see how much enjoyment they had in life, and then to be able to help them, and to help people that really enjoyed your help and were really grateful for everything. It really puts it into perspective for you.
It does.
How blessed you really are, and how lucky you really are. And then you think, man, if they could be happy, I'm kind of a punk for being upset over whatever. A lot of times you don't even remember what you were upset over.
Exactly. There's always somebody out there that's got, are way off worse than you are.
Oh,
And it makes you really feel good when you're able to be able to help somebody.
And I will say, as far as any industry goes, in our industry has like a couple of different off branches, but if you look at either the business side of our industry or the competitive side of our industry with professional fishing and stuff like that, we're in probably one of the most giving communities there is. Whenever it comes to this group, whether it's bass fishermen or cat fishermen, any kind of fishermen that you're into, or businesses associated with this industry, except for like big box stores, they're some of the most giving, caring, kind-hearted people, and all of them really have the same general belief system. Everybody's close to their family. Everybody in this community wants to see kids get involved. Everybody wants to see kids have a good, healthy hobby to get into that doesn't lead to all the other bad things that kids can get into. And I'll be honest with you, I've never been in an event where somebody, because a lot of times, these fish storms go, you have a little powwow beforehand. And I've been to several events where, like, right before you get started, the form director say, hey, just to let everybody know, old Jim Bob's struggling. He couldn't be here today. He had chest pains or something last week. There's so many different stories, so many different variations of it. But, his family, is in need right now or whatever. And I've never, one, if there was money to be raised, I've never seen it not get raised in one of its events. But two, I've never not seen it like an outreach, an outpouring of compassion. The second you get out of the boat ramp that day, everybody's calling you. How's Jim Bob doing? Do you need your yard mowed? Do you need somebody to come take out the trash? Or do you need around the house if you can't get up and do stuff? It's kind of funny to think that a lot of these guys, if they're out there wrecking 5-pounders, and you go, hey, buddy, what are you catching on? They might tell you to F off. Just over something like that. But then you look at them and say, you might be at the boat ramp and say something like, hey, man, my truck blew up. I don't think I can make it to the boat ramp next week. And the same guy told you to F off over the spare.
He's going to offer you a truck.
Yeah, he's going to be like, I got a spare truck you could use.
And it's just not only, I see it all the time. I have fished with a lot of these pros. I've rubbed elbows with them and stuff in events and everything like that. But to have these pros call you at, like John Cruz last year, at New Year's, he was driving back from New York. I get a phone call 4:00 in the afternoon, hey, been thinking about you. How you doing? That means a lot.
You and the old cruise missile there, you guys have a pretty good relationship.
We do. Yeah.
You guys have known each other for
since 2014. And it's not only him, Mark Menendez. I love Mark Menendez to death. And I talk to Mark quite a bit.
I would honestly say if there was 3 pros that I would really like to meet and have a conversation with, you just mentioned 2 of them.
Yeah.
I've watched a lot of Mark Menendez's like Bash U videos, YouTube videos and stuff. You know how, like, whenever you watch a movie, you see the person acting on there, and a lot of times you can just think like that's not really them, or even with some professional fishermen or just people in our industry, you can look at them on camera and kind of be like, I think that's a show. But Mark Menendez, every time I watch him, he just seems really, genuine about everything he says.
Yep.
And he seems like a really well thought out dude that, he has some really good knowledge about the industry. And not to mention, I've seen a few videos of him just fishing with his dog on the boat at some of these prairie tournaments. And A guy that can fish all day with his dogs might be a person.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah, he'll call me and, hey, my son's getting into welding, or, my son's been shooting trap and stuff like that. And, we might talk for 2 or 3 minutes just to say hi. Or I've seen times that he'd call or I call him and we're on the phone 45 minutes later.
So how'd you get? I want to assume you met the cruise missile through Missile Base.
I did, yes.
How'd you meet Menendez?
I actually fished a tournament with him. And me and him was fishing this tournament. We're coming around the lake and stuff. And
It was like a pro-am tournament? Is that what it was?
he's looking out through there. And he said, there is a crankbait hanging in a tree. And I'm looking all around the boat, where's this crankbait at? And he's pointing there and he said, well, I think that's a Mark Menendez Signature Series crankbait. I'm like, okay. And still to this day, we go over to it. He reaches his rod up, pulls it down, and sure enough, it was a Mark Menendez Signature Series Sexy Shad crankbait. And still to this day, I accuse him of putting that crankbait or losing that crankbait tree when the waters was up. And he went back to that spot. He swears up and down he didn't do it. Yeah.
For you to spend, was it a 2-day tournament or 1-day tournament?
It was a 2-day tournament, but I have been drawn twice fishing with him. But, it don't matter where we're at, let's go have dinner. After the show, let's go have dinner or whatever.
So it's like an event that they get vendors like you together with and give you a chance to fish with.
Yeah.
Kind of like a thanks for spending all your money with us.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
Every year in October, I fish these tournaments and stuff with the pros.
So here's a question. You don't have to answer this. Put you on the spot a little bit, but I have to ask. Have you ever drawn a pro that you just don't ever really care to ever get in a boat with again?
I have.
You don't want to say any names, do you?
I won't.
Would you care to tell us why, maybe? Or was he just arrogant kind of thing? Because we don't have that fear, right? Never meet your heroes.
So, I used to fish carrot stick rods all the time.
Yeah.
And they was okay. Hated them, but it was okay. So Cassian gave me a bunch of new rods one time to try out. And I got hooked up with this pro. And the sensitivity on these Cassian rods are just through the roof.
Unreal.
You can feel every little blade of grass there is and stuff out there. So I'm on the back of the boat. And we just get started out. We might have been 10 minutes into this thing. And, man, I set the hook. That fish was cross-eyed. He was looking at that damn crankbait when it was coming through the water. And I get this fish on the boat, and he reaches down and gets my fish, pulls it out of the water, takes the hooks out of the mouth, and, hey, give me your phone. Let me take a picture of it. And so I'm sitting there holding his phone, grinning like a shit-eating possum, and he's sitting there taking pictures of me. And so we put it in the live well and everything, and about 5 minutes later, man, I'm a hooping again, and I'm setting the hook on another one. And here this 3-pound bass is in the boat. And he looks at me and he goes, where did you tell me you was from again? I said, well, I'm from West Virginia, but I fish the Ohio River all the time. And so he's quiet. He didn't bother to take my fish off that time or reach down and lip it. And so I had to do it myself, and I felt deprived. So, I'm putting this fish in the live well, and I go, he turns around and he goes, anybody that fishes the Ohio River can catch a fish in the lake. He said, you're on your own now. I thought I was on my own to start with, but you're the one that netted this or got this fish for me, and you brought it in, one picture of it and all that.
Some people do get a little sour about getting beat in the back of their own.
He got, I ended up having 3 in the live well before he had 1 in the live well. And it kind of rubbed him a little raw. But,
the funny part is, though, when you was going with this, man, I'm going to imagine when you caught the first one, and even when you caught the second one, you probably didn't rub it in too bad. But after you found out that he was going to be the way he was, you probably started taking all that. I want to guess you didn't go out of your way to make that situation better.
So there's a picture floating around somewhere on Facebook that when it was all said and done, of course, John Cruz and his partner won it that day. And so me and John and this other pro standing there, drinking a drink. And of course, it was a little bit of rub and salt and stuff in the wounds. And I think we placed 4th in the tournament overall. But it was just still fun knowing that I had 3 fish in the boat. Here I am, a nobody that fishes a little mud hole here in West Virginia on the Ohio River, and
Yeah.
I was able to put 3 fish in the boat before he had 1 in the boat.
A lot of people think I'm joking when I say this, but it's the honest to God's truth. And he hit the nail on the head when he said, if you can fish the high river, catch fish on a lake, is cutting your teeth on this river. I don't know how else to describe it other than you condition yourself to honestly go out there every time thinking, like, if I catch 6 today, like 6 little ones, if you're not fishing a tournament, like you catch 6 dinks a lot of times, you're like, have a good day on the river.
Oh, I've won tournaments and stuff on this river, come in a pound and something. 1 fish, and you're a winner,
The first, the big tournament that we won a couple of years ago, we had 4 fish. And those guys had a limit, and we beat them without a limit. And, I don't think we had a fish over 2.5 pounds, but it's gotten better. The last 3 years, I'd say it's gotten better. Sean Douglas, and working with like some biologists at the West Virginia DNR and just a few other anglers, like the board that runs the Bass Festival. There's like the Tuesday night group that does the Tuesday night tournaments, quit fishing backwaters around the spawn and stuff like that. There's been an effort the last few years that's finally starting to pay off a little bit. And I think people getting on board with not wanting to live well fish as much during the spawn is really helping. I know it sucks. We all like to fish during the spawn. There's nothing wrong with fishing during the spawn. But, honestly, if you want your fishery, especially one like this that's struggling to grow, you got to let fish breed.
Exactly.
Man. That's what they have to do. If you
look at Pennsylvania.
Yeah. You look at Lake Erie, right? They have that law that was it before June 15th, I think. You can't live well.
You can't put one in.
Yeah, there's like a month, right? Where you can't live well bass. But then again, if I go to Lake Erie and have a bad day, I still caught 30.
So, your experience on the Ohio River, in the last 2 to 3 years, I have seen the size of spots just getting, the number of spots you're catching on the Ohio River, the size of the spots. I never seen a 1.5 pound, 2 pound spots come out for a long time. And now you're seeing 2 and 3 pound spots coming out. It's coming back.
I've also noticed a lot, really the last 2 years of spotted bass, they wolf pack a lot too. A lot more than other bass do. I noticed a lot of times if I'm on the main river around some of the islands, pitching around like tree stumps and stuff like that, if you don't catch one but you happen to pull one out, I've noticed just about every time one spotted bass comes out, usually 4 or 5 are traveling with them. Yeah, if you could get into a school of spots, or if you can find one spot and get it to bite, honestly, as long as you don't mess up the spot, there should be another one there just about every time. But yeah, I agree. The spots, they're getting a lot healthier. Now, this is something that, might be an ignorant question. I know, like back when you first started fishing the river, there was a heyday where there was a 10 fish limit. You used to be able to catch some big bags in the river. Were spots prominent then in the river? Are they kind of something new?
No, I don't ever remember catching a spot back in the 90s.
So they're new. Okay.
Yeah.
So one thing I know with some other fisheries, and you've probably heard of this too, but there's like some places where spots, they want you to keep every single one you catch because they're kind of invasive compared to other bass. But I'll be honest with you, truth be told, they might be an invasive species, but if they take over the Ohio River, that would be the best thing that could ever happen to the river because there would be fish to catch.
Yeah.
Right now, the way it sits, I'll be honest with you, it's sad whenever like a tournament like the Bass Festival, with $25,000 on the line, there's no reason it should come down to an 8 pound bag one day and a 6 pound bag the next. There's just no reason for it. And I think a lot of people, I'm not really saying the DNR because I don't think they have a whole lot of control over that river, but like the Army Corps of Engineers and people who don't want to invest into that river to make it a better fishery. They're just more worried about commercial traffic on it. Like they don't want to dredge the backwaters and stuff like that for largemouth. They don't realize how much of an economic opportunity they're really missing out on because I've talked to Sean Douglas. I've talked to a couple of different people that are involved in that organization. The challenge itself, just the challenge at the end of the year, I think brings in close to $250,000
exactly
to the economy. And that's, in the words of Mr. Wonderful off Shark Tank, that's nothing, right?
You look at the St. Mary's Bass Festival. A lot of these guys are from out of town, so there's your motel rooms. You're going to restaurants and stuff at the night to eat.
Gas,
What they spend in here and stuff
coffee
like
at
that.
the gas station,
Exactly.
snacks at the gas station, the restaurants. There's always everybody's hungry when they get off that water.
Exactly.
Every fast food joint's getting hit up for the drive-through. Yeah, I mean,
And, you're talking $70,000 to $100,000 bass boat. You're talking $60,000 to $80,000 pickup trucks pulling that.
and they probably bought a minimum of just $400 bait for just that
Just that day.
just for that.
And that's not considered the 30 rods you have in your locker, and whoever you're fishing with, he's gonna have between 8 to 10 rods on the boat.
The new sunglasses they bought,
and your sunglasses and your rain gear, and a lot of.
Well, I mean, I would be kind of curious just to figure out how much money, like the week of the Bass Festival.
Hey, are you or somebody you know a veteran that needs help fighting the VA for the benefits that you deserve? If so, you need to give Jan Dills a call. I can say from personal experience that Jan Dills and her group of attorneys will fight for you to the bitter end. If you're fighting the VA, you need the attorneys that won't take no for an answer. Give Jan Dills a call today at 877-755-7183.
How much money is St. Mary's to spend on sandwich meat?
Yeah.
I mean, think about that. I mean, you're probably looking at that Galaxy store there getting another $5,000 or $6,000 just in sandwich meat they wouldn't have sold.
Just look at the gas station right there.
Oh yeah.
Every boat that's on that water that day is coming off there and going to that gas station and fueling up.
Just imagine if we got this fishery to a point. I'm not saying that because I don't think economically we're a big enough area to support like an actual Bassmaster main event. But if you could host an open event, one of the Bassmaster opens in like St. Mary's or Parkersburg Pool, if we're bringing in $250,000 to the economy with our little tournament, just imagine if we made it good enough to where you had one of those a year and maybe a BFL and maybe one of like the FLW Pro tournaments or something like that, or well, it's not FLW anymore. Or, I mean, imagine if the NPFL, if they wanted to host an event here. But unfortunately for us, the Army Corps of Engineers, they don't care about that. I mean, if you want the honest truth, they just don't care. There's hardly any kind of stalking efforts that I've ever really seen.
So you're talking about the stalking efforts and stuff. I have complained since 2014 about trying to get this river and stuff stocked. And you was talking about the Florida string bass in Virginia. They traded turkey for Florida string bass, to Florida. Why couldn't West Virginia trade turkey as something like that, to Florida to get these bass and stuff in here?
I think Sean Douglas talked about that actually on our podcast. I don't think our water temps could support maybe Florida string bass, but unfortunately, I don't think even if it was an option for us, it's something they'd ever consider.
Yeah. So, like I say, I've been complaining and stuff to them, and they told me the National Trout Federation and stuff, they go to Charleston, they lobby, they complain, they get their stock. The Muskie Federation, they go to Florida, or not Florida, but Charleston, they complain, stuff, and they get their muskie stock. Same way with the blue cats. When they stocked 5,000 blue cat fingerlings in the Williamstown pool and 5,000 in the St. Mary's pool a couple of years ago. That was because somebody complained.
And we don't have that.
But no one from the Bass Federation ever goes to Charleston and complains about, we're not getting no stocking, we're not getting no money, we're not going to get no help.
This might be
to get this stuff.
This might be the birth of something, but I think just between me and you, we know enough predominant people in this industry that maybe we should consider starting an organization.
Well, there's already organizations out there, your bass clubs and stuff like that. I know a lot of bass clubs and stuff that,
or maybe we could get them together to sign a petition or something.
So we was one time going to do, like, when we have a Tuesday night tournament, everybody would throw in an extra $5 and, keep that money at the end of the year. We was going to stock bass. And, not only us, Jerry Burkhart and, several of the clubs and stuff around here had talked about doing the same thing. When you have the Belpre homecoming, they throw an extra $5 in the pot, this helps stock the river. Then they had to do studies on the fish and everything before they could turn them loose to make sure they had no diseases and stuff. And it was just such a big headache that everybody lost interest in it.
So I think like with trout, especially just from stuff I've seen on social media. Our last governor for 4 years, Jim Justice, he's a predominant trout
He
fisherman.
was.
So when it came to stocking trout, especially when he was in office, there was a lot more effort. I think there was even some kind of political issue last year. I can't remember. I don't want to get to politics in here, but something happened last year to where like some kind of federal funding we were going to get got pulled from us for trout fishing. And the state knew how much money they made from trout fishing and how vital that was to our economy, so they stepped up and made something happen. Again, I didn't really follow it a whole lot, but I knew there was something that happened there. I just wish we could get somebody like that for bass fishing.
Oh yeah.
For every dollar you think you can make with trout fishing, honestly, bass fishing has so much more potential just because of the commercial aspect of it. There's so much competitive bass fishing anymore, and not to mention not only that, but if we got fishing really take off here, and you got like one of the bigger YouTubers interested in filming something here, that's going to bring in more people. And
Exactly.
before you know it, your hotels are full. I mean, there is, honest to God, no reason that West Virginia shouldn't be one of America's #1 outdoor destinations in the country. We're, as far as untouched outdoor wilderness, we have more of it per capita per acre than a lot of other areas. There's more woodlines and water around here than people shake a stick at.
Exactly.
And we've kind of just not taken it. I mean, I guess in some ways it's kind of nice because we don't deal with a whole lot of people from out of town coming. But if you want to see this place grow, one of our biggest natural resources is our fish and our deer population. I do think that they've taken some right steps toward getting the deer population a little bit better. But if we could get bass fishing, especially on this river, to take off, I mean, people don't realize.
And one thing about the bass fishing and stuff like that, we're going to have to get the younger generation involved. You're seeing a lot of the older gentlemen and stuff that used to fish competitive. They're upper in age now, so they're not fishing. But the younger generation, these high school kids and stuff like that, we need to get the bass tournaments and stuff into high schools and stuff like Doddridge County and PHS stuff, Scott.
So, I'm not trying to put Doddridge County on the spot here because they have an outstanding athletic program.
They do.
They had a fishing team there for a while. Alan White ran it, and unfortunately, just had to give it up because whenever it came to who was in charge of whenever it came to divvying out funds,
Right.
obviously they see a lot of they wanted to invest money in football, which I get. Your football teams, especially your football team, is probably the driver behind the school's success. Everyone wants a successful football team. We all went to football, basketball, stuff like this, and then for the guys doing the fishing teams, Alan, just to ask to get like their insurance paid for, or if something happened on the water down, their deductible covered, or to pay for gas to hotel, that the school just didn't see a reason to do that because it was a fishing club or whatever. But what a lot of schools don't realize, and there's so many kids, like I see kids in here all the time, walking around with their grandparents or their parents, and I tell them, like, there's so much potential to go to college for this nowadays. Every college has a fishing team now.
Exactly.
Believe it or not, people don't want to believe this, but you can make a living on YouTube.
Oh, yeah.
Like, there's a lot of potential to make a lot of money in this industry. Don't take that from your kids. Like, encourage it. I really think that right now, especially in single A sports, again, I'm a fan of football, so I'm not knocking football here. It's just an easy target to pick on. But when it comes to single A sports, it's really hard for like areas like Ritchie and Doddridge, because since they can't recruit kids and stuff like that to stay competitive year in and year out with football. But whenever it comes to something like fishing, you could build a top tier team and always have it because you only need four kids to have two teams. You don't need to have a first string, second string. I think the biggest thing is it's just getting people to want to fund that, and you do a great job at this. Seven Rivers does a great job at this. And I'm not sponsored by Rights, but Rights does a great job at this. To get back into this community, But I think a lot of businesses in this community, especially when it comes to big box retailers like Sportsman's Warehouse, Bass Pro, they need to really realize where their money comes from.
Exactly.
And put money back into that. You know what I mean? Especially the youth programs. But I think another downfall behind that is, you're talking about that $80,000 bass boat. I think a lot of kids just look at that now and see how expensive a bass boat is and how expensive electronics are, and just to get into it, and they just get discouraged
Yeah.
quickly. I always say that I'm not a fan of getting in a life skill. I think it's the wrong move.
But also on these kids and stuff, they got to realize, you don't need an $80,000 boat. You don't need. There's always somebody out there, an older gentleman, that will love to have you as fishing with them.
Everybody's a partner. There's always
Everybody needs a partner, and if you show up at a ramp and stuff on a Tuesday night or Thursday night or something, there's always somebody right there that would welcome you on board. Take you, and it has rods and everything else.
Especially kids.
Yeah.
I mean, in this industry, for me, for a lot of people that don't know this, I'm not sure I was talking about this, but I didn't fish growing up. It just wasn't.
I was on the water all the time.
See, I would have loved to have been like my dad fishing competitively. It's just not something that we did a whole lot together growing up because my dad was busy. He worked a lot. I'm not knocking him for it. He's a great dad. It's just like I said, growing up, it's not like we had a whole spare money. So a lot of times my dad wasn't fishing competitively because he had the same dream I have at one point. He was working. So. And that, maybe I just wasn't into it a whole lot growing up. But for me, as far as like fishing, competitive fishing goes, I think I've been doing this for 7 years now. It kind of baffles people to think of the progression I've made. It's kind of fun. It's a funny story even how it all happened. I'm glad it did. But for these kids, like for me getting into this, people didn't want to just give me information. But if you're 15, 16, 17, even 18, 19 years old, and you want to get into this, like, honest to God, you could come hang out at this bait shop for 2 or 3 hours on a Saturday and just strike up a few conversations with some of the guys walking around here. Before you walk out of here, you're probably going to have a fishing partner.
Exactly.
Because when it comes to young people that show an interest in the sport, I don't think there's a person that's going to turn you down, honestly. And they're willing to give you all the information. Say, like that guy that was going to tell me, F you, I'm not telling you what spinnerbait I was using. He'd tell that kid what spinnerbait he was using. He'd show him how he was using it. It's just weird,
And probably buy him one.
Yeah, probably buy him one, to make sure he walks out the door with it. I think, we talk about there's a huge opioid epidemic in this country, especially around here. The Ohio Valley has a terrible issue right now. And a lot of that, if you've got kids in the outdoors, two things, they're not going to have money to spend on other bad stuff.
Exactly, because they're going to put it in fishing baits.
They're going to put it in fishing baits and boats, and that's a progression all its own. But secondly, like once you get outdoors, man, it's hard to fall for a lot of the other traps in life. That there's a lot of tempting things out there that can lead a man down the wrong path. Yep. I'm telling you, like there's really, when it comes to fishing, you're typically on the water. You're not going to find a group of more straight and narrow, morally bound people. Now, don't get me wrong. There's some wandering ones out there.
Oh, there's
we got some wandering ones.
Exactly.
We got some pranksters. We got some guys that you might think aren't nice just because they don't talk, but mostly they're shy. A lot of fishermen are shy. Everybody here, I've said this before too, like if I wouldn't trust my kid. I wouldn't, like if I was in a football game, I'm sure most NFL players are good people, but I wouldn't trust my kid with just a group of NFL football players. Yeah. But honestly, if I was in a boat race at a tournament, my kid was with me, or whatever, let's say my daughter fished a tournament with me that day, and I had a heart attack and had to be rushed off by ambulance. The last thing I would worry about is her safety. Because I guarantee out of everybody,
one of them's going to watch her.
Yeah, somebody's going to have her drop off at my house before I get back to the hospital, And I wouldn't. Really, honestly, for everybody I've met there's nobody in this industry that I really know, that I really met, that I wouldn't trust my kid.
Exactly. And when it comes down to, you talk about being pranksters and stuff like that, well, when it comes down to the end of the day, they would give you the shirt off their back if they thought you needed it.
Oh yeah, I've seen it more times than once. Exactly. I've seen Seven Rivers do it. I've seen Wrights do it. I've even seen people do this, but we're talking about that $80,000 bass boat. I've seen guys break down, they won a bass festival in Wrights or Seven Rivers or
not charge them a thing for it.
Yeah, here's an $80,000 boat, buddy.
I've seen Johnny and him, same with Wrights and stuff up there. I've seen him work on people's boats and stuff at these
around the block
and not charge them a thing for it.
So before I was sponsored by Seven Rivers, I always had a good relationship with them because I remember this was way before I sponsored. My first interaction with Seven Rivers was that old Stratus I had. It was my first bass festival, and the prop I had on there, Dustin Dennis wanted to try with his boat like a couple of weeks before the bass festival. And I said, yeah, just come to my house, pick up my prop, and put your prop in my boat because I kind of want to try your prop. And he swung by my house, and while he was pulling my prop off, I get a text message from him like, dude, you have a problem. This was actually a week. This was 1 week before Bass Festival. This was like Monday morning before Bass Festival. And I was like, what's that? He's like, you got oil underneath your lower unit. And I was like, oh, yeah. And it was like 2 weeks before that I hit it. So the galloping list. But I didn't think I lost my lower unit. Well, anyways, I was like, what do I do? He was like, give me 1 second. He knew 7 Rivers from where he spot that Falcon. And he called.
Are you finally ready to buy that new pontoon boat for the family or the new bass boat for yourself? Or maybe you even just need good, reliable, affordable service for the boat that you already have? Well, either way, you can get all of that at Seven Rivers Marine in Coolville, Ohio. Personally, I have trusted them with all of my marine needs for years, and honestly, you can't ask for a better group of people. Give them a call today at 740-846-0062. Again, that's 740-846-0062.
And they were packed. I mean, they were packed to the gills. He called them right as soon as they opened, and he gave them the stories like, "This is this kid's first bass festival. Like, you know, is there anything you can do?" And they said, "Bring it in." And I kid you not, they worked on my boat and a couple other guys' boats till like midnight, you know, that week to get people out on the water. And yeah, again, I mean, you're not. It's not just them. There's so many other people in this community that are like that.
Yeah.
There's no other better community to be involved with, in my opinion. You know what I mean? I mean, guys like you and people like them, and even like I said, other fishermen. I've seen other guys hand their keys over to their boat. Well, actually, my dad and Buster. Who was it that let Dad and Buster? It was like 2 years ago in the challenge. Buster's boat had issues before he bought his Phoenix, and man, I wish I could remember who it was, but one of their buddies, man, had a brand new Phoenix boat, and he was just like, "Here's the guy that make day 2. Here's the keys to it." That's an $80,000 boat.
I've actually been in them shoes.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know,
You and Jim had Jim
lost the whole lower unit stuff last year, and you know we've had people. Here's the keys to our boat. You know, fish bass festival stuff with them.
Yeah,
And you know you hate to do something like that. You know you're
you
gonna
want to tear their stuff.
yeah, $100,000 boat. You know anybody could take a chance running down there, especially on the high river, and hit a log. You know there's so much stuff floating down that river anymore that's just you know
You ain't joking.
it's scary.
I remember last year coming. It was the Powhat. Well, actually, you guys were right beside us. You got a cool video of my motor.
I actually do.
Yeah, for anybody that didn't know, I went airborne last year. So we came out of the we came out of the Powhat for the locks, and we're walking back into Powhat. And I call it an underwater island there, and there's no markers or safety buoys to like point it out. And it's kind of one of those things. I guess if you're not real familiar with the area, you're going to find it the same way I did, like right over top of it. And I mean, I missed it by like an inch, and I don't know how I did. I don't know how my lower unit's still there. I don't know how I didn't wreck the boat. I just remember coming out, and about time, I remember Bill Kennedy was to our left, and we were like right behind Bill Kennedy. I have to lift us, and we can't let those guys beat us, just being ornery. And I take off, and I mean, when I just seen the riffles go across it, and I turned, and my motor came up out of the water. That was a scary moment right there.
The last I looked down, I think we was running 72 mile an hour.
Yeah, so
And
tore up my props about, tore up my skag, the lower units in there were 7 Rivers right now. I mean, it got me back that day. I don't know how it did.
I don't know how you got back that day either.
Yeah, I don't know how I didn't completely take it off there. I mean, talk about 7 Rivers working on my boat. They're actually there getting their lower unit replaced now because I made an insurance claim for the skag and stuff like that, the prop. They took out the drain plug. There's metal shavings and stuff in there. There's a warp to it whenever you. But yeah, two things actually. I don't know, one, how my motor didn't land back up in the boat. I got lucky there.
Yeah.
But two, the fact that my lower unit got packed that day, it's a miracle.
And-
That river's all full of that stuff. I remember
Oh,
I
yeah.
was mad when I got off the water. I was like, I was so mad. Why do I fish this dang river to go and catch? This is the only place I ever turn my boat up. And then I never catch any fish here. Honestly, if you're looking at return on investment, the river's not a great place to go because you're more likely to tear your boat up than you are anywhere else.
So when we hit the log and stuff and took the lower unit stuff off, there was 5 or 6 other boats that night that hit that log. And
I talked to one of them. He
Yeah.
told me that he's seen it right before Jim hit it, and it just trimmed his motor all the way up
And skipped right over top of it.
Skipped right over.
That would have been Burl Baker. Yeah.
And poor Jim's motor was trimmed all the way in.
Yeah.
It took it hard.
Took it hard hit. It half of it's landing in the bottom of the high river.
Yeah. So it actually took it off that day.
It sheared it right off.
Oh man.
Half of it.
That's one of those moments when you just feel a sickening feeling.
Yeah.
But it tore the bottom of his hull too.
It took the hull and everything up.
Yeah, because they had no total in his boat.
Yeah.
He's lucky, really, to get
Oh,
hurt there. But
So back in, I think it was the late 80s and stuff, there was a tournament and stuff went out of St. Mary's, and it was really foggy that morning. And Mickey Bean, I don't know if you know.
oh yeah, I remember.
Jim had just run into that fog bank and stopped at his fishing spot, and just happened to turn around and laid down in the boat, and Mickey Bean came right across the top of him. And Jim said all he could see was that propeller, coming across the top of his face and his head and stuff that went across the top of his boat, and totaled both boats. So he's been through a lot on the river.
That's my biggest fear, is foggy mornings.
I will not run in the fog. I will.
There was one year, this was the challenge. It was the year before COVID. This is in 2019. It was before the heat. It was before you even had to qualify for the challenge.
Yeah.
I remember the first morning, it was real foggy that morning. And we're all sitting there. I saw my old boat. I remember Marshall was the only guy that knew that had power poles. And he's power pulled down. And a few of us were like hanging on his boat. We're just sitting there BSing because we didn't think that there was any way possible we were going to launch. And then to this day, I'm not one of the best tournament directors, but I still don't think that we should have launched that day. I think it was. I'm glad nobody got hurt, but I don't know why we did it. I mean, I really have no idea why we launched that day, but I remember we launched. I don't want to fishing with me that year because that was the year Lips got in his motorcycle accident. Fish with me. Well, anyways, we're sitting there talking. I'm sitting here, boat number one. And I looked at Marshall, and Marshall looked at me and started calling people off. And he went, I guess. Well, Marshall was planning on driving all the way to St. Mary's and walking through. He either had to wait to the second or third walkthrough because he didn't want to drive through it. But, he said he was just getting past. People just flying through. I remember me and Alan take off. I wanted to start in Sandy Creek, which is between the Little Hawking and the Hawking. And I was going like 25, 30 miles an hour, just to where I could barely stay on plane. And I remember Alan had his yellow glasses on trying to look, and I had my goggles on trying to look. I was like, "You see anything, Alan?" And he's like, "No, I don't see anything." We're coming around Blennerhassett Island, and neither one of us see anything. By the time you're and coming out of the fog, and I mean,
Been there.
20 yards away from us. Here's this barge. I turn real hard, and we come off plane, and there's this big log standing. I've never fished this log. I looked at Alan and I said, "This looks like a good log to start at." But that whole morning, we just heard, and there was guys I talked to that were like, I was just looking at my map, driving off it, and I was like, "There's no way I couldn't do it." I just don't. One, I don't trust my maps nearly that much. But two, the river, there's always changing what's there in front of you because. I mean, how many times have you been going down the river and look over and seen a log as big?
Oh, several times. I mean, I've been up the river from one side to the other just trying to dodge stuff. I mean, 4x4. I've seen 55-gallon drums and everything else.
Tree trunks, car parts. I mean, if you name it, it's floating down that river and it can take you out.
Exactly.
I mean, and the ones that scare me the most are those big giant logs that you see that are about that far under the water. Yeah. Every now and then you see a bob up. Yeah, those are the ones that get you. Yeah. So one of the last things I guess I really want to ask you that we can't ignore. We talked a lot about tournament fishing. Where did this all start? We talked about where the store started, but where did this all start? Like, was you just some boy there fishing the Hughes River growing up?
Growing up on the Hughes River, I got a passion for fishing and everything. And
so growing up Hughes River, you were probably musky fishing.
We done a lot of musky fishing, done a lot of bass fishing stuff. We had 4 or 5 ponds and stuff throughout the property that we fished on and stuff. We stocked for bass, and that was an every night thing usually.
So when did you fish your first one? Like when did you go from the guy that just likes fishing to?
Probably in the early '90s and stuff. I fished a tournament as a kid. Out of high school, I got the opportunity to fish a tournament with a guy, and fell in love with
You
it.
realized you were sick in the head, just like being punished every time.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, for anybody that's faint of heart, tournament fishing's not for the faint of heart.
And, then I started buying, only place we had to buy fishing gear was Western Auto there in Harrisville at that time.
So this is where the dream started.
That's where it started and everything. And probably the mid '80s to late '80s, I thought, I'm gonna have a tackle store. And I started off just in a little building, and I grew from that little building to a bigger building within a couple months. Then I just started going from there.
You used to be
In Smithville, and I worked out in my garage and stuff. And I poured a lot of lead and everything. Made a lot of sinkers and stuff of my own to sell. Then I ended up moving into Harrisville in probably the late '80s, early '90s.
Were you in the Eastway video
Yeah.
before Eastway videos?
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I thought. It was before the Coxes who bought it.
Exactly.
And that's. So I could have swore, remember when I was a kid coming in there once or twice before you shut down you were there whenever Banks's was still a thing.
Exactly. I mean, I sold guns and everything right there. So
yeah, so I'm gonna assume the reason you don't sell firearms now is because of the restrictions.
it's a pain in the rear end.
I was gonna say back then it was probably a lot different.
And of course, everybody. You look at the gun shops and stuff around. Just everybody's got a gun shop. 2 or 3 miles from each other down through here. I mean, there's several of them here in the Parkersburg area.
So, I guess before we get back to the Florida thing, another good question. Since you don't sell firearms, like Dodds there in Ellenboro, do you consider them direct competition or just more? Because they have a little bit of fishing stuff, but they're all about guns and ammo.
Yeah.
So, do you ever talk to the Dodds, or do you ever?
I've talked to them every now and then and stuff.
I'll tell you what, if you have any, and I might be able to help introduce you to Darren to get a top one, but I know they've really made their bread and butter out of the online stuff. If you were ever,
if the online stores where it's going to be, I mean that's my next step. And
if you want me to, I can make the introduction for you. Darren might be a good guy just to kind of ask, like, what's some of the things that hit you in the forehead here that you weren't expecting, kind of thing. Because I remember whenever I was a cable tech, I went there to work on the internet one day. I never knew this, but they had like 4 guys, or 2 or 3 guys at the time. I think it's up to like 4 now. That just sit in the back, and that's all they do is process online orders.
We're planning on having 5 people, doing the processing and stuff, the orders. We got to have all the orders out by 2:00 of the day and things like that.
You know what you really need to do? Get a drone. So whenever I make an order on the river, like just run out this, Doug. Yeah, you can just drone it right out. Yeah. You know what you really could make some money on is if you had like props and hubs and stuff that you could take out to people in the river last minute. That's where people really end up in trouble. Most people remember to take enough plastics with them. There's been a lot of times I've seen guys get in some trouble with their prop getting knocked off and not having a way back.
What's the old saying? There's 2 times the best time of a boat owner's
when you buy it and sell it.
Buy it, sell it.
But fortunately for me, every time I've sold one, I was buying one the same day.
Exactly.
So I guess I got to feel double the joy.
Yep.
Yeah. What was have you ever had a boat? That's kind of funny actually, Doug. You're probably one of the most well-known people in the bass fishing community, especially in this area. And you've never had a boat. Now you've had kayaks and jolly boats.
I've always been, always somebody hollering at me,
You've always had a partner.
Always had a partner. Yeah.
So before Big Jim there, who did you used to fish with? Who?
Oh, I fished with Mickey Bean. I mean, there's been several of them stuff that I fished with.
Who would you say is your longest lasting partner? Who did you think you spent the most time with out of all the partners you had?
Probably Jim.
You guys fished together for a good long time, didn't you? I guess I hate to make your head any bigger than it already is, Doug, but just goes to show how smart you really are to be the guys that you never did own the boat. Man, you always had one to fish out of. That's what Lips always told me. Why would I ever have to get a boat if you have one?
Good point.
You know what? I can't beat your logic.
You're stuck with the insurance and everything else. And
I'll tell you what, you think that payment's bad every month. That insurance is a lot worse than the year. And I don't really know what a lot of people's boat payments are on a brand new boat, because like with my sponsorship deal with Seven Rivers, it is just a big blessing, right? I got the boat. I'm not going to give out the price or anything, obviously, but I got the boat at way less than half of what you would ever go buy one on the dealership floor. It's less than what they had in it. But I know if you have that much money in a boat, how much my payment is every month. it's not a cheap hobby to get
Oh, it's
into.
not.
But at the same token, honestly, before, yeah, because a lot of this really came into my head that if I wanted to have a YouTube, a TV show, that I had to have a really nice boat, or else people wouldn't watch my stuff. Looking back, that's probably not the case. I'm glad I had that thought because the relationship I have with Seven Rivers now is probably one of the best relationships you could ask for. I have a lot of those. But my first boat was in 1989 Stratus I bought off my stepdad, and I paid $3,500 cash for it. It's some of the most fun I've ever had.
I was gonna say you probably had more enjoyment out of that than
Didn't care if I scratched
Yeah.
it. No, actually, now I say that. You know what's funny? I'm the complete opposite of everybody else. But my first boat, that old '89 Stratus, I was scared to take it to French Creek. I didn't want to take it to North Bend. There was no reason not to scratch it because it's not like the gel coat was any good on it. I just didn't want to tear it up. You want to know every boat. The more expensive they gotten, the more damage I've done to them. Because then I got the big Stratus, and I went through a lower unit with it. And I mean, it started telling me scratches I put on it. This Falcon, don't get me wrong, I baby it because it's a really expensive boat, buddy. I'm there to catch fish.
French Creek. I mean, who hasn't been sitting high centered in French Creek? I mean, I've been there many days sitting there.
I remember with me and Lips, the first time it ever happened, it was in that old boat. No, it was in my second boat. No, it was in my first boat. I remember the first time we just started fishing the river by ourselves and went to French Creek. And if you take a left and you get back in there, I'm sure this is probably the same log you were out there on, but there's a log shaped like a Y. And I just remember we was
Running right
fishing,
up in it.
and you just and the boat just tossed there. I remember we could take the trolling motor on high and it seemed like we could
Spin around in circles.
go in circles.
Never even done that one.
And I remember finally I was just sitting there again, completely new to boat, so I just looked at Lips and I was like, I'm sick to my stomach. And he started laughing. He said, "We'll get off of here." And I said, "No, we won't. It's stuck forever." Like I just remember thinking, like, how am I going to explain this to my wife? And then the right idea we came up with.
Walk to the back of the boat.
Oh, man, we weren't that smart.
Yeah.
We decided to throw this thing in reverse and stand on the back, and then try to run forward whenever it broke loose and kick it back in neutral before it killed us all. I remember when we finally broke loose of that thing, we looked behind us where that little like bridges and that area where all those people fish. There was like 6 or 7 people just staring. Look at those idiots. Which I hate to say, but that's not the first time I've had people look at me like that out on the water.
So we was fishing a tournament up in Stonewall, and me and Frank was coming around. We was running pretty good in the channel and stuff, and we come up through the channel, and there's 2 boats sitting sideways in it, and we had no other where to go. And I remember him cutting the wheel. We beached it. Brand new 50th anniversary Ranger boat, and we're sitting there with mud up around us and stuff. And we was doing the same thing, how are we going to get this boat out of here now?
Yeah.
And these 2 guys are sitting over on their boats looking at us like, man, wasn't they a bunch of dummies?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, man, I can tell you, one of the funniest ones I've ever heard. I don't know if I'm going to mention any names, but I know you like to fish Middle Island Creek. So you're real familiar with that one turn you got to go through that's just as sharp as can be. And
I like hitting that turn about 68 to 70.
First time I took Lips to that turn, it was my first book on like 35. I just remember him over and then I remember as soon as I bought the first big boat with the 200 on it, the day we picked it up, he looked at me and he was like, "We're not going for this turn until you figure."
Hey, y'all. It's Jordan with the Getting Bit Fishing team, and I just wanted to take a moment to say thanks for checking out our podcast, The Last Cast, filmed in the one and only Ohio River Outdoors, located at 13520 Emerson Avenue, Williamstown, West Virginia. If you've never been here before, this place has absolutely everything a fisherman can need. Come swing by today. Come see Doug. Trust me, if you've never been before, it's worth the trip.
Because he knew exactly what I was thinking. Anyways, one of my really good friends was driving down Middle Island Creek. He was going probably 55, 60, came to that turn, and there was kayakers that for whatever dumb reason,
Out in the middle of the water.
He said they were from one side to the other. They were kind of like walking hands, whatever, talking. He came around there and he said he saw a spot where he could fit. It just went right through it. He said if he would put his arms out, he could have touched kayakers. He said he looked back behind him and all of them were just up and I mean, what do you expect if you're going to be, look, anybody that kayak fishes, I'm not knocking kayaks. 2 things for you guys though. don't be in the freaking middle of the water, especially in blind turns. It's not a good idea. Number two, don't block the whole waterway like that. I guess three things. Number three, you're in a kayak, so when you're at the boat ramp, please move your kayak over to the side and not have 5 kayaks blocking the whole dang boat ramp. But yeah, whenever he was telling me that story, because I'll tell you who it is after this, but just it being who it was, it made it that much funnier because I just knew he was smiling from ear to ear the whole time it was happening. He was probably happier about that than the fish he caught that day. Because again, I don't want to know any of my work for kayakers, but that he does. That was.
I've seen a lot of things on that river.
I'll tell you what, one of the funniest ones we had. It was the first challenge me and Lips fished, and this was the first year me and Lips fished like tournaments together. So first year we fished tournaments together. This is exactly how this all happened. I remember he got this boat early in the year. And I told him, hey, my dad used to fish tournaments. He was like a 25 horse boat or boat he had. I was like, my dad used to fish tournaments. We knew nothing about bass boats. And I was like, I'd like to get into this, blah, blah, blah. And we were thinking of this little 17-foot, 25 horse boat that we could go out here with all these guys. And I remember we went to fish. We thought we were going to fish Bass Festival that year. We were about to get to the 50 horse minimum, which is what led to me buying my boat. Because I was like, well, I'm already sunk into this now. You know, I know we're once for sale anyways. First time we went out, he ended up losing a prop with his boat, and we had to, troll motor all the way back. Anyways, so that first year we tried that. We had our first time out the water, decided we were going to get into it. I bought my boat, and that's when we started fishing the river truck, Sean, and the challenge and stuff. But that was our first year, like bass fishing, or my first year really bass fishing, other than being in a creek or something like that. And we showed up to the challenge, and I had this mentality that I was there to win, and there was nobody that could tell me that even though I only had 1 year of experience, that anybody was any better than I was. And somehow we finished 16th day one, and which is, I mean, if you want to talk about getting the bug,
Yeah.
let a guy go to his first big tournament, finish 16th day one. Well, anyways, I remember day two. We didn't say 2 words to each other, right? Like we're on the boat, we're just dead focused because we only had a good fish the first day. We got to cash the check now, right? Well, there was like 5 minutes left. It felt like the day might have been like an hour left. There was an hour left of the day, and we're in a little canal. And this guy, like, we're in this backwater, and this guy backs in with his girlfriend, and they were on a jet ski. Well, she had never been on a jet ski in her life, and he was just like, "Here's the keys, honey," and lets her take off out there. We're fishing or whatever, and we hear her going one way, and we hear one of the bass boats that was in the first flight head back, and we heard her hit his wakes and never left. Never once. Like she was going 70 miles an hour. Hit his wakes. And the jet ski went one way, and she went the other. And next thing you know, we hear her boyfriend going, "Help her, help her, help her." And he looks up at me, and he's like, "You gotta help her." And I was like, "We got money on the line." And he was like, "We gotta go help." I was like, "Oh, come on." Well, anyways, we go over there. And it took us like 30 minutes to get her pulled back on the canoe. I didn't realize how hard it was to get somebody out of the water. And we got her up on the jet ski. And I kid you not, the second we got her up on, she just slid right off the other side. And I was like, "Are you even trying?" Well, about that time, we heard her hero boyfriend. We heard flip, 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 flip. We were looking at this guys in floaties swimming across the little canal. And I was like, I'm about to watch a guy's head get seared off with a prop because I know that these guys from the first flight are coming. And I was like, "Go back, go back." And he was, "What are you saying, honey? I'm coming." Well, anyways, he gets over there to her. And the second he made it to her, he was like, "Can you guys give us a ride back over there?" And I was like, "Nope, you got the jet ski here. You got the shore's right there, but I don't want no more part of this." Yeah, it never ceases to amaze me, I guess. Some of the stupidity or lack of common sense you can see for a sport water sports for being as dangerous as it is.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't think things through, honestly. Yeah, I mean, it's crazy some stuff you see out there.
So we was fishing out of Powhatan, maybe about 3 or 4 years ago now, and they had that guy drowned up there. Well, the fire department was asking all of us to help look for him down there. Here we are fishing a tournament, and plus looking for a body.
We do have better electronics.
We do that, and back I've been on a dive team and stuff since I've been on the fire department since I was 16 years old. And when I really got into the scuba diving side of it and getting on the fire departments, diving and stuff with bodies, some of the old technology and stuff that we used to use to spot stuff on the bottom, it has came a long, long ways.
I remember when I first joined the fire department, I was going through the boat one day, I found some of that old technology. A bar about that long with chains hanging from it,
I,
treble hooks.
I still got some of them.
Yeah, that was
Big old treble hooks about that big around.
just a way to think about doing it.
That's how we drug for bodies and stuff.
But nowadays, honestly, with the imaging we have, for anybody that's on a fire department out there or a rescue team, they'd be idiots not to think about trying to invest $4,000 in a good like Hummingbird Solix unit with side scan or something. Because you can see the shadows of fish.
Oh, you can see pretty well anything.
So, are you still in a fire department, or is
I am not. When I started my own business in '99 and stuff like that, I started a first responsibility team, and we was traveling with all the fire departments, Wood County, Pleasant, Ritchie, whoever it may be. We was going around cleaning up all the truck wrecks, anything on the water.
were you on Smith's fire department growing up? Is that the one you joined? Okay.
I was on Smithfield since I was 16 years old.
So were you there? There was I can't remember the boy's name, a boy that got killed in the fire. Were you there or were you on the fire department when that happened?
My stepbrother he was like my stepbrother and stuff. He got killed in the line of duty and stuff at Smithfield. Well, as a firefighter.
Okay, that's probably the
And,
same one. It was like a propane tanker gas.
It was, yeah. When it blew up, he didn't have his face shield and stuff down. And a pencil, about the size of a pencil lead, hit him in the temple, and that's what killed him.
And you were on the fire department?
I was not. I was probably about 13, 14 years old then.
I was going to say, I thought that was around your
Yeah.
time frame, though. I mean, I didn't know that you were ever on the fire department, Doug. How long did you scuba dive for?
Oh, several years.
You ever thought about getting back into that? Sounds like a fun thing.
Yeah, I do a lot of snorkeling and stuff like that. My daughter is a certified cave diver in Florida. Her stepdad and all of them are. And
You ever try that? You ever ever?
I've not done the cave diving and stuff yet, but that's on my bucket list.
Really?
Yeah.
I just don't know about being under the ground. It's never been a thing for me.
Yeah, me and the girlfriend went down last year, and I took her snorkeling for the first time, and she fell in love with it. And
Snorkeling sounds like a lot of fun.
it is a blast. It's just teetotal blast.
Yeah. So seems like things are kind of wrapping up here, Doug. But I do want to, I guess, verify a few things. So just to make sure everybody's clear, we should be expecting. Is it just going to be OhioRiverOutdoors.com, you think, or ORO.com?
It's going to be Ohio River Outdoors, and
Okay.
we're going to start posting stuff here within the next couple of weeks to come. As soon as this inventory's taken care of.
I hate to put you on the spot like this, but I know we've talked about this a few times. Do you think maybe there might be a special release code for a discount that's going to be in the podcast?
There's going to be something on it.
Yeah.
First time buyer and stuff like that. There's going to be some stuff like that on it.
And I mean, you think we'll put something on the podcast?
We will probably put something on the podcast.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Draw some people in.
Yeah.
That way.
We'll
Yeah.
do some spatial giveaways and stuff like that when we start releasing things. And
Something else I'd like to point out. We were talking about how you like to give back. Anybody that follows my platform knows, that the veteran community is really important to me, and I kind of require it to be important to all of my sponsors, which really, honestly hasn't been anything I've had to really require because every sponsor I have is really veteran friendly. That one thing I think maybe not a whole lot of people are aware of that you have always offered is 15% rate veteran discount.
15% better discount.
Yeah, so if you've served your country, and I'm sure this discount will carry on the website as well.
Yeah.
If you've served your country, by all means, the store is willing to serve you back.
Exactly.
And I think that's something that a lot of people really need to hear because my Uncle Lenny, actually, he's a veteran. And one day I was talking to him, and he didn't even realize they had a veterans discount here. But yeah, I really do appreciate it.
We appreciate you guys.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's not something you even started with this sponsorship. This is something you've done for a lifetime.
We've done it since day one.
Yeah.
And, we've
15%
always.
is more than anybody else does.
Yeah.
I mean, most stores don't do 10% if you're lucky. I really appreciate you going above and beyond when you have. It's one thing, I've not really talked about this a whole lot. It's not something a whole lot of veterans talk about, but one of the most common mental health issues that veterans have associated with PTSD is like finding a sense of purpose or feeling like anything that they sacrificed was ever really worth it. Like a lot of times when you get back home and 5, 6, 7 years down the road, your mind finally starts to really register a lot of stuff. And a lot of guys I know, that's when they start to go down this pitfall of, was everything that I sacrificed really worth it? Because a lot of times by then, like the VA, you've already been let down by the VA. I've never been let up by the VA. So I mean, I have nothing good to say about the VA except my doctor, my psychologist. The VA is great, but and the staff, a lot of staff I've worked with is great. The administration behind the VA is terrible. So you've already been let down by your government, dozens of times. Whenever you join, especially from around here, you think going into it that you don't really expect anything on the way out, but you always were under this assumption that like you'd have a great formation that would take care of anything and wrong with you. And you really find out quickly that one, a lot of people don't value the sacrifice of it's not being a veteran's not what it used to be as far as parents used to make their kids respect elderly people,
Exactly.
veterans and stuff like that. But it's not a thing that's taught anymore. A lot of kids don't even, really care about the national anthem like they did, when I was growing up. But anyways, for veterans, a lot of times the biggest thing is they don't feel valued or like their sacrifice was worth anything. And whenever small businesses, especially like you guys, where the money that you're losing on that transaction means more to you than it would have like a NASCAR. For them, they would never notice that money. They're not willing to put it out there. But for you, it directly impacts whether or not you could have probably paid this place off a year earlier about that boat that you were talking about, or anything like that. Whenever we see that, it does help. You know what I mean? It goes a long ways.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, again, you don't expect money off on stuff. It's not like I go into a place thinking, I serve my country, I deserve a discount. But with any kind of form of gratitude, whenever it comes unexpected, it's just out of the goodness of somebody's heart to say thank you. Like, for whatever reason, medically I couldn't serve. It's just something I never had an interest in. But just realizing that to have the opportunities that you have today had to come from somebody's sacrifice. It does mean a lot. And I've always said this to even bigger businesses, like, if you're a multi-millionaire or even a multi-millionaire, whatever opportunity led for you to make that kind of money, it wouldn't be there if somebody's bloodshed.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, there's some kids that probably have the same dreams and aspirations that maybe because they were really poor and looking for a college opportunity, or they just felt the patriotic call of duty. They sacrificed for us to have what we have. And even, I say that they sacrificed for me because there's still people out there doing it. But anyways, yeah, thank you. I mean, honestly, from the bottom of my heart, yeah. So for any veterans out there listening to this podcast, really, if you can support places like this, like High River Outdoors, or like Seven Rivers, any of you guys, it really, they care about us. And I think it's time for us as a community of veterans to finally start speaking up and maybe only doing business with people that do care about us and understand.
A lot of your small businesses stuff's going to give back more than what your, like you say, your bigger box stores and stuff will.
All day long.
And
yeah, I mean, for me, I have a shirt full of sponsors. Every business that I've ever dealt with, it's always way easier to try to do business with somebody like you, or somebody like Seven Rivers, somebody like that, just because a lot less bureaucracy inside of there. For a lot more people, like there's some of the bigger companies I deal with, there's people that share the dream that I have, but there's a lot of people that don't understand the dream, right? So to them, it doesn't make sense. There's a lot more battles you have to get through. Whereas, like, you still fish. Like this was you before. This was your life before this was your store. So like, I don't know. I'm sure whenever I came to you with this crazy dream I had, like, it's not a common thing people are going to get hit up with. That in every small business that I've dealt with, even the ones that didn't do business with me, just because it wasn't financially in the cards, like they were still willing to work with me and try to come to terms with something. It just goes to show there's, I guess, more compassion at a small level. Yeah. So, is there anything other than the website or any favorite baits you want to throw out there than your? Are your Saints going to make it for the release of the website?
they should, yes.
Oh, yeah.
So we're hoping that they'll be here in the next 2 weeks, hitting the shelves.
I will.
There'll be some interesting callers.
I'll go ahead and make a promise to everybody here. I'm sure me and Doug can work something out. That we'll have a YouTube video up with all the extra colors and stuff like that. But yeah. So
my favorite bait is probably going to be a jerk bait. I throw a jerk bait and a crankbait probably more than anything else that I throw.
Do you think you're going to release a High River Outdoors crankbaits?
Probably not.
You don't think? I imagine that's probably a harder one to get into. There's probably a lot more investment. Just because it's probably more than buying molds that you'd really have to invest in like a paint. it'd be hard to sit up there and hand paint all those yourself. You'd have to buy a machine
you'd
of
have
some
to.
type. But that's probably some serious cash right there.
There's going to be some other things coming down the pike too that we're working on, and
I'm excited for all of them. Yeah, I mean,
yeah, hopefully by this time next year we'll have like I say, the second store in play. And
yeah, the website.
been looking.
Hey, do you live in the Middle Ohio Valley and need a good, affordable, reliable residential contractor that can take care of all your construction needs? Well, look no further because Bowser Construction on Dudley Avenue in Parkersburg has you covered. They specialize in doors, decks, porches, kitchens, bathrooms, and room additions. So remember, just call Bowser at 304-485-6930.
We can all talk about your favorite jerk.
The jerk bait, crankbaits.
Yeah. Just decided that you were talking about how you wasn't going to come out with your own crank. Well, so you said some other stuff was coming. Do you have any other baits in mind, or you want to share with us?
We're probably gonna have some other stuff. A little crawl. We're talking about making a crawl and stuff next.
Pair 'em with the skin company.
Yes, exactly.
Are you going to do like infused scents or anything like that with it? Or
We've been been playing around with some stuff, and probably going to end up having bake fuel or something like that with them.
that bait fuel being in there might really be a moneymaker for you.
It might be.
That might get people to talking about buying some
Yeah.
wire. Now, dumb question, do you have a name to say you should call them Wire Outdoors?
No, they're probably going to be called Stinkos.
Stinkos? Doug Stinkos.
Yep, the Ohio River Outdoor Stinkos. That's what we've been playing around with. But,
I like that. So you're going to have to do like your packaging.
of course, Mallory's been working on stuff on that. Probably the same company and stuff that Jesse uses and stuff out of China is what we're looking at, because you can get these bags for like 2 or 3 cents a piece.
Oh, yeah, they do a good job.
Yeah, they do a real good job.
Yeah. So now, do you think this is something that will just stay exclusive to your stores only?
It'll be here, just here.
And on the website.
And eventually on the website, yes.
Now, you said you were talking about opening a second store. Do you have an idea of like how far this dream goes? You thinking one day being the next Cabela's with
Never know where it's going to go.
But I mean, are you open to that idea?
I am open to growing. I have been talking to one of the guys from Missile Baits and stuff. We've been bouncing around about that 30-foot trailer being American made product only, and pulling around the shows and stuff like that. And so
Selling Stinkos everywhere.
not only Stinkos, but Missile Baits, Zoom, Cash on rods, American made product.
Blue Rocker guys.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Pulling around these shows, getting people, more into to buying American made. Of course, the tariff tax and stuff right now. We're already getting calls every day that stuff's going to go from 10% to 25% increase just because of the tariff tax. And we're already seeing stuff that's coming out of Canada. We just got a phone call yesterday on night crawlers, and not only did it go up 75 cents on a box of night crawlers, but it also went up $24 and something in shipping now. And
which you have to distribute.
Which we have to add that to it too. Now we're up to $1 extra on night crawlers.
I was gonna say it probably comes out to about $1 more.
Yeah, it comes out.
So what's that for the thing? Night crawlers for like $4 or $5 then?
It's gonna be about $5.99 a box.
That's just not something you ever thought you'd see now, is it? Yeah. Who would ever thought? I mean, I kind of knew, but who'd ever thought that like Canada's where most of our night crawlers and worms and stuff come from? Is it just because of a specific type of night crawler?
It's just a bigger night crawler, stuff like that.
Yeah.
But it's just not only that. I remember when a bag of flatworms was $5.99. Now a bag of flatworms is what, $11?
Oh yeah.
And now they're going up another 10 to 25% on top of that. And where's the cutoff at?
Yeah.
And there does need to be more American made product and stuff here.
Oh, definitely. Well, just like I was talking about Jesse Blue Rock in the last podcast, because of how small he is still, but how involved he is in still fishing, part of the industry. Like, he makes a way better product than a Berkeley or any of the large brand. Like, if you use one of his spinner baits, there's just so much that goes into either from keep or how he puts his skirting on, even how he paints them. There's just a lot more quality that goes into it.
Exactly.
And it all comes back to smaller businesses that are still involved in the industry that they're in, where you look at somebody like Berkeley, who's owned probably by investors. There's a lot of people making a lot of business-based decisions in a company like that don't fish probably, or So whenever it comes to using a cheaper paint or something like that to lessen the quality to try to make profits more, the thing people don't realize is a lot of times your price still stays the same to the consumer, but they're making more money because they're giving you a cheaper product at the same price. Where like guys like you and guys like Jesse really take a lot of pride because people here actually know you. So if you sell a bad product,
They're coming back after me.
yeah, and not only that, you don't want your name associated as
Exactly.
being the Doug Stinker. You want the Ohio River Outdoors stinky baits to do good. You don't want to be the standard one stinker. Yeah.
Yeah, we've made spinner baits and jigs and stuff probably since 2014, and
You've been tungsten here for years too.
we've got our own brand of tungsten and everything. We've had that for several years now. Worst thing about the tungsten, it comes from China too now, but we buy it by the skids, and that's the only way I could got my name and stuff on it. And the first go around and stuff with the tungsten, they told me, said, yeah, you got to buy like 5 skids of this stuff.
That 5 skids of tungsten is not cheap.
It's not cheap, and it was the weight and stuff to get it here. It was just through the roof.
Yeah, I'm sure they didn't offer to pay for the shipping on that.
They didn't offer to pay shipping.
Oh man, I can't imagine how much shipping on 5 skids of tungsten would even cost.
We had 5 skids of tungsten here, and the tungsten's come in a little brick. They're about 1 foot long, about 8 inches wide, and probably about 8 inches tall. And you got 100 cartons on a skid. So there's 500 cartons of tungsten that we get in at a time. And I'm at the point right now. I'm getting ready to place an order next week on tungsten.
Do they make any kind of bulk rate, like break for you on the shipping, or how does you pay the same for it?
Pay the same shipping no matter what.
That's rough.
Yeah,
that's a lot of money right there.
Especially when it comes in and gets stuck in customs. You're expecting this. We get a ship date. Yeah, it should be here next week, but seems like every time we order tungsten, it always gets stuck in customs.
I wonder if this sits off some kind of sensor.
I'm not for sure.
Yeah, just maybe all the Chinese writing on the outside of the box sends a flag up or something like that.
And that's like the Molex baits and stuff like that. Anything that you get that comes from other countries and stuff, and there's always a chance of it gets stuck in customs.
So Molex is exclusively overseas.
Overseas, yeah. They're out in Italy.
Is Berkeley in country, or is Berkeley overseas too?
Yeah, they're out of China and stuff. They get a lot of their stuff comes from China.
So like, you watch MLF or whatever, you always see the video. Like if they're lab or whatever, if they're labs in America. Or,
I'm not for sure.
Who else? I guess Gary Yamamoto is a Japanese company.
It is.
Yeah. Zoom, are they American?
Zoom is American, yes. They're made in one of the Carolinas, I think, is where they're at.
So you got Zoom's American made, Cash is American made,
Missile Baits
is American made, Blue Rock's American made. What other rods are favorite Cash?
The Outlaw rods, which was by Venom, they used to be made in America. Of course, Venom's no longer now. They went under.
I didn't know.
Yeah, they went under here a couple months ago. I mean, there's a lot of companies and stuff right now going under.
Just because the market's so.
That's the market. I mean, it's tough. It's a dog eat dog world. Big tackle store and stuff like that. I mean, there's always somebody out there now, trying to make it cheaper and cut your throat.
I had a buddy years and years ago that he started. He was like the rep for Big Timber here when they first became a thing. And I remember he got shut down pretty quick. And he whenever he would go try to sell at like a North End Market or something like that, he had a lot of people that would originally take his order and buy beer from him. And then after going to the store and like the Bud Light wrap or whatever, see it in there, they would give an ultimatum of like, either you have our product or you have their product. And I'm sure there's a lot of that that happens in this industry too, where new up and comers like Blue Rock or somebody like that tries to get to a store, and one of the bigger companies, pulls their power to keep them out of some of those stores. Unfortunately, I mean that's just business.
We used to sell boots, and we done fairly well selling shoes and stuff like that when we first started. And the company that I was dealing with come in one morning, and I've been friends with the guy for quite a while and stuff. And they come in one morning and told us, "Oh yeah, by the way, you got to carry X amount of our boots, or we're going to take your dealership away from." And that's a slap in the face to tell you have to buy that many.
Yeah.
And I just
as I say, I don't see any boots around here anymore.
you don't see the boots here.
Or they're like muck style boots, like not brand, but
No, I mean there was a lace-up boot.
oh, okay.
Fairly.
It was part of the oil and gas thing. I take you some like work boots and stuff like that.
Work boots and hunting boots.
Is there any brand? You don't have to mention any names. Is there any brands in the fishing world you deal with like that?
No, I mean everybody in the fishing industry. I mean you could buy one case, whatever. I mean they'll break cases for you, stuff like on reels and everything.
Yeah. Well, you imagine, you're probably one of the few stores that can afford to buy a bulk amount of reels, whatever they're. Some of them are $200, $300, $400 a piece. Stuff.
I've seen times and stuff that reps come in here. I always tell my reps, if you make an effort to come and see me, I'm going to make it worth your while. And I've seen times we've wrote a $60,000 order just because a rep walks in. I have $60,000 worth of rod and reels.
And you got a lot of rod and reels around here.
There's over 4,000 in here right now on rods. I don't have the slightest idea what we have in reels.
Yeah, I know we've tried to guess a few times about how much money you have wrapped up in rods.
Bunch.
Oh, there's $200,000 set there.
Bunch.
Yeah. Anybody looking to buy a new rod and reel combo, I guarantee you, whatever you're looking for is in the store somewhere. I mean, you have ugly stick in here?
Mm-hmm.
I was going to say, you have everything from like an ugly stick to...
We're taking on 2 new lines right now. We just hooked up with Phoenix, and so we're going to have Phoenix come in. And we're talking to another company and stuff about getting another brand of rods and stuff. Phoenix rods should start rolling through the door here in the next week or so.
Nice. I mean, you're never going to get wrong by having more options.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with Phoenix rods. Is that more budget friendly, or is that more high end?
They got both. I mean, they got anywhere from $70-some to $300. It's like everybody.
You should try to get Matt Robinson here sometime to try to sell ugly sticks for you.
Matt's son lives in Cambridge, Ohio.
I did not know that.
Matt's son lives in Cambridge.
I'm scared to know that he has an offspring.
Next to us, Matt, he's a good guy. I mean, we talk to him a lot. And, the funniest one was he told my daughter that he lived in a trailer park. He sold his single wide trailer and moved down 2 houses down to a double wide because that was the only place he could park his new boat. So he's just two trailers down now.
I think last year on this corner he finished high in the money, and he said that he bought some land. He bought some land with the last check, but didn't have enough money to move the trailer out of the trailer park. And now with this check, he's got enough money to pay for the trailer to get moved. I mean, if there was one guy that I think I could spend a day on the boat with, Matt Robinson.
He'd be a blast.
Yeah,
he might be in his boxers fishing, but
yeah, I met him down there at the Classic one year. What was funny, we all go to meet him, right? It was me and Marshall and Janice, Marshall's wife. Marshall shook his hand. Well, anyways, they get to do a picture. He puts his arm around Marshall and Janice and just turned over. They over Janice and goes, "You smell prettier than anybody who's been beside me all day."
Yeah.
Oh, you never know what's going to come out of that guy. So he's funnier than
Oh, he is. He's a blast.
So you've actually got to talk to him?
Oh, I talked to him a lot of stuff. ICAST, these shows and stuff like
You
that.
should try to get him to come through to the store and put ugly sticks for you just one time. I bet you sell a pile of them. Because there's a lot of people around here that like Matt Robinson. Yeah. I mean, he's kind of our kind of people where we're from.
He is. Yeah.
A wood tick.
Yeah, when he told me his son lived in Cambridge, I thought, man, that's pretty cool. And he tells me he comes here, at least once a month to see his son.
Really?
Yeah, he's down there a lot. He told me he'd stop in and see us one day.
Yeah, tell him to stop by the store. Yeah.
So
tell him to stop by the store and get on the podcast. I'd like to have him on this podcast.
Oh, big blast.
Yeah, so Matt Robinson, off chance that you're actually listening to this podcast.
Hey, are you or somebody you know a veteran that needs help fighting the VA for the benefits that you deserve? If so, you need to give Jan Dills a call. I can say from personal experience that Jan Dills and her group of attorneys will fight for you to the bitter end. If you're fighting the VA, you need the attorneys that won't take no for an answer. Give Jan Dills a call today at 877-755-7183.
Doug Tingler would like to have you here at the podcast.
Awesome.
Yeah, that'd be a good episode. I'd like to get him one year. I'd really like to get the cruise missile one year. I'd love to have him on the podcast. Sometimes the next thing I talk to one of those guys, drop a hint, let them know if they're ever by here.
See what we can do.
Yeah, buddy.
John is really big in autism. And we just dropped off a bag and stuff, a Fisher and stuff, autism bag. And so be watching for that. And have people go on bid on it. I like to give quite a bit of money and stuff raised for it.
So does John do a fundraiser for autism?
He does. Every year does an autism awareness week.
Does he have somebody in his family or something that?
I'm not for sure how it started, but
That's a really good cause to get behind. Yeah. I know, growing up, autism wasn't new by any means, but the awareness of autism was really something that was new to the world whenever I was growing up. There's been a lot uncovered because of fundraisers like his. The one I think of, one of the biggest ones I think of is just growing up, the race car driver, Jamie McMurray. He's always been a big supporter of autism foundations because I think his niece has autism. I've known several people throughout my life that have autism.
Oh, yeah.
Great foundation to get behind because like I said, the awareness behind it alone has speaking out of place here to increase quality of life for people with autism dramatically because a lot of people just didn't understand it up until really the last 15 and 20 years. It's guys like John Cruz and people like that wanted to put forth the effort to raise money to build awareness and stuff like that. That's pretty cool.
Oh, it is.
It goes back to what we were saying earlier, though, about everybody in this community just being giving.
Yeah.
Everybody in this community.
You have to admit, all the disasters and stuff that has happened, which is not a whole lot of stuff around this area. But you look at the communities. You look at the floods and stuff in Clendenin, a couple of years ago. I know we took equipment down there for days and stuff, and donated to it. The supplies and stuff that we took was just a little drop in the bucket compared to what other families and stuff took.
If bass fishermen could make the money of a rock star, people would probably be surprised how much money
they'd give away.
Yeah, it's crazy to think that. I guess maybe in a way, maybe like a majority of money's put in the wrong hands compared to.
Exactly.
It seems like the group of guys. If you could make $100 million a year on tour bass fishing like you could in the year on rock concerts, you'd probably be surprised how much of the money went to charities just like you were talking about, or Christmas tree programs or food programs, or honestly, if you had a bass fisherman out there making $100 million a year, you'd probably be surprised how many of these kids we were talking about needing a bass player would have. You'd have an $80,000 bass fish show up, no problem. It's just, again, this is probably the most giving, caring community that you could ever be a part of.
So we've done bags. The bags was donated by Missile Baits, and you can put quite a bit of bags and stuff, individual bags of baits inside that big bags that Missile donated to us. And we done 100 and some packs of baits that fishermen had donated. Companies in Berkeley, Scott, he donated. I don't know how many totes of stuff of baits. Might have one bait Allen or something like that. But we was able to give 100 and some packs away a couple of years ago for Christmas. Just any kid that walked in. We was just handing them bags of baits, and it was all free. And the majority of it was donated by customers, donated by Berkeley.
Yeah.
But everybody has a bag of baits. I'm really bad about it. Yeah, I caught fish on a green pumpkin Cinco last week, so I might think I'm out, but I go buy 2 or 3 more bags, and I go home and I find, well, shoot, I got 6 or 7 bags laying there that I didn't need it. And so every fisherman has a ton of baits in the boat, ton of baits laying in their garage, wherever it may be that, you're never going to use again.
Yeah.
And, my goal is to bring it in here, we repackage it, put it in the Missile bait bags, and give to kids. I mean, same way with old rods.
Yeah.
The Y, or not the Y, but the Boys and Girls Club. They're looking for 14 rods, and we can donate our old rods and stuff to these kids and to these organizations, and they have a gold mine.
Oh, yeah.
They think that you give them something really great.
We were talking about the expense of kids being intimidated by fishing because they couldn't get the $80,000 boat or whatever. But honestly, for a lot of kids, the first rod and reel is the most intimidating part to buy because there's some kids, some people worry about an $80,000 bass boat, and there's a lot of people out there that
worry about a $30 rod.
Yeah, I mean the idea to some people of ever buying a $500 rod and reel combination, that's more money than they'll ever think they'll ever have. Let alone, you give that kid his first $100 rod and reel or $50 rod and reel, whatever it is, get him hooked on fishing, and that could be what keeps him out of jail.
Keeps him off the streets, whatever.
Keep him on the banks.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, there's ordinary people in fishing. They're all fun time, but you don't ever see anybody out there breaking the law with the group that we run around with, or you never see anybody up to doing good or anything like that. I mean, think about it. We go to these boat tournaments, these fishing tournaments, and after the tournament's over, everybody's at weigh-ins, around the weigh-in area. We have all these $100,000 bass boats with $40,000 worth of electronics and $1,000, $2,000 or $3,000 worth of rod and reels sitting out on the deck of the boat, all out in the open. Like, how easy it would be to steal a graph. I mean, honestly, just to walk by somebody's Humminbird graph, pop the back off of it, screw it off, and walk out of there, never happens. Yeah, I mean, and I guarantee there's a bunch of guys that would love to have a brand new 12-inch Humminbird.
Oh.
It's just not something that you ever even think about or worry about. It's just not something that happens.
And like you say, $400 rod and reel,
sitting right there on the deck of the boat.
Not only just one. I mean, I'll have as many as 10 of them sitting around in front of the boat.
The funniest part about the whole thing is every guy there is more worried about somebody looking at their rod and reel and finding out what was tied onto it for that tournament than they ever are. That's in their mind more than thinking somebody would ever steal that rod and reel off of them. Which, not to say now, if you go fishing not at a tournament and you have your truck at a boat ramp and there's nobody else there, I've heard some boat ramps aren't as safe as they used to be. Your stuff will get broken into. But for guys that are actually in the community, like you're never.
Oh yeah, it ain't gonna be from the the bass people and stuff like that.
No, never.
And
funny one is, I think it was O'Brien Lake. I heard
cut Cadillac converters off.
Yeah, they were having tons of issues. People's Cadillac converters getting cut off. Cars getting broken into. Well, apparently there's a state trooper that lives in that area that really likes to fish that lake, and he started every night on his way home from work making a trip through there on his own time, just sitting there in the cruiser. And I was told by a couple guys here, actually in the bait shop, probably a month or so ago, that place has cleaned up a lot.
Nice.
Yeah, which, I mean, I don't know. That's a too nice little lake.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because I didn't fish it for a couple of years because of all the stories I've heard. I think the hometown bass boys had a tournament out of there a couple of years ago and everybody got broken into.
But, if they're going to steal something, they're going to steal it no matter what. I mean, shoot, look at this place. I got 40-some cameras inside the building, and that's not considered what's outside. And, we had a scumbag walk in
2 weeks ago now, yeah.
2 or 3 weeks ago, and walk out with 6 rods, like he owned the place. And we know who he is. $200 reward. And,
if anybody's looking for $200 in store credits.
Oh, we done got him. I mean, we done got to know who he is and stuff, but just can't get the cops to pick him up. So we're just sitting here waiting for them to snag him now.
Maybe they're looking for more stuff on it, or maybe they have more. Maybe the whole line of robbers that they have. Just I guess fortunately, you haven't had some wacko come in here that was more aggressive about it. Everybody had tried to steal, at least not tried to hurt anybody on their way out the door. I mean, fortunately, man, I'm telling you, nothing aggravates me more than a thief. Just because, like for you, even though you have all of this here now and there's more financial security behind it, at one point you had to risk it all. At one point, whether people know it or not, and even since the day that it was just you and the truck and the $100 bill, even as the store's grown, probably even recently in the last few years, especially COVID, there's probably been some risks that you've had to take that people never knew about, and struggles that you've had to take. And even though you're not going to go bankrupt over $1,000 worth of odds walking out of here. That's still like your blood, sweat, and tears that went into that. I don't know. I don't see how anybody can sleep at night knowing that they just. I mean, I'm not saying that stealing from like a $1 million, like a big box retailer is better, but to know that you could go into a store where you know the local guy that owns it, and that you're affecting somebody in your own community and not, somebody, some investor, some millionaire, some company that would never even know the money's missing, that you actually go to a place where like it's going to directly affect them. I don't know. I just don't see how you could sleep at night being that person. It's just
They don't have to answer us. They have to answer someone else someday.
yeah, that's the best way to look at it. I mean, you're not going to be able to control it. And like you said, unfortunately, you have 40 cameras here. You have a sign up that actively counts how many people you've had arrested stealing in the store. Every time it happens, it's all over social media. You'd think that people just wouldn't want the flag to come with
Exactly.
stealing from you, but it doesn't register. I mean,
Shoot, last year we had a woman laying in the floor, rolling from side to side, and her husband was filling his pockets. Plain as can be.
it's not like, I mean, every store has cameras in it nowadays.
And that's the scary part. I mean, not only stores, I mean,
Nobody thinks
every
about it.
house. I mean, just.
I guess the scary part is how much people don't think about it before they commit crimes nowadays, I don't know. I guess nobody ever accused criminals of being smart.
That's the truth.
Yeah, I've never met a smart thief.
That's true.
So to wrap things up, you got the website coming up. It's got a couple weeks. That's probably going to be a pretty big thing. Is there any other big news about the store that we haven't released or anything we're missing?
Not yet. Like I say, there's going to be a lot of good things coming this year. I got some people going to be coming in on Saturdays and stuff and talking. And
yeah, actually, I do have one last question for you. So, obviously, you sponsor me, and I'm by no means like a big name.
We do?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I didn't know that money was coming out of my bank. I wonder if that was going somewhere else.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, your assistant, she's always, they've always taken care of. You didn't know about it. But anyways, have you guys ever thought about trying to put your name in there with one of the, like an actual big name pro? Or
Right now, I'm not big enough.
do you think maybe when the website gets up and you're actually offering to more people out and about?
Yeah, that would be a dream someday. But, as of right now, I'd rather, help the little guy than I would a bigger, with pros and stuff like that.
Well, I greatly appreciate it. Yeah, I just didn't know if that was something that you'd ever really.
No, I don't think I'll ever get that big to where I could, do something like that. I'd rather stay with the.
We were talking about you opening up 12 stores a minute ago.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't say.
It don't hurt to dream big, I guess.
I mean, I think you probably didn't see this all those years ago.
I didn't see this now.
But I mean, is that something that you would actually consider something on your bucket list as far as an accomplishment to say that you sponsored a pro, or do you think it would be more of an accomplishment to, I don't know, let's say in 5 years, store's doing great, you have like 4 or 5 locations open, website's booming, you're just money hands over fist. Do you think it'd be a bigger accomplishment to start like a regional tournament, like that was big enough for where guys are making like, is that what do you consider one
that would be something I would be considered.
I was gonna say
put on a big one-a-year tournament and stuff like that.
Yeah, I remember a trail. Like I was gonna say, if money wasn't an object, and you were really looking at like something you would call a check in the box for like a dream that you thought of, like I really gave back to the community. What do you think it is? What's your direction that you like to go? I
would rather put on a big kids tournament. Pair a kid up with not even down a pro, an individual like East Bass Clubs and stuff like that, because that's going, if you put a kid on your boat, taking him out for the day, say you put a son and a dad on a boat, and you take them out, all you're doing is just driving them around and letting them two fish together and bring them in at the end of the day and do a weigh-in, just like we would for the challenge or the Bass Festival, whatever it may be. Do a challenge on that. That kid's going to remember that.
The rest of his life.
He's going to remember it the rest of his life. And you're going to get more kids involved in fishing doing something like that than you will by anything else.
Oh, yeah.
And I would rather put on a free tournament or something like that and sponsor the whole thing and get these kids involved. And like you say, if you get these kids on the bank fishing or you get them on a boat fishing, and that's going to get them off the streets. And that would be more of an accomplishment to me than going out here and sponsoring a pro or, whatever it may be.
Yeah, that'd actually be a really cool. That'd be a really cool idea. I don't know.
So we've actually been talking with the DNR and stuff here lately, and we're talking about maybe doing one big tournament each year now for the kids and giving back to the community and stuff. And the DNR has already offered to help me.
Nice. So do you think it'd start with like what you just mentioned, maybe kids fishing off the bank somewhere?
Well, we thought about maybe putting on a big tournament in North Bend or something like that, getting them started, or even down one of these lakes and stuff around.
You know what? Actually, so this might be a cool idea. One that's neat to know. Maybe I don't know. You ever thought about if there ever came that opportunity, maybe like sponsor like a high school team trail, where a trail just for kids in high school and giving them a chance to compete for a little bit of money, kind of thing. That might be
one thing about the high schools and stuff. I've tried to get a fishing team in a couple of the high schools and stuff, and I just can't get the Board of Education on board with me.
Yeah, the hardest part is too. I mean, you have to have some parents that it's bass boat.
Yeah,
That's willing to let some, because the rules are right. The kid has to run the trolling motor.
he has to run the trolling motor and has to.
So outside of it being their own kid, it's hard to get somebody to let a kid run their trolling motor. You know what I mean? Because my troller's $4,500. Yeah. We run into a tree with that thing. You can screw up a lot of expensive stuff.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, again, wouldn't be so bad if the school board was willing to help pay for the repairs, but they don't see the value in it the same way as they do football.
Hey, do you live in the Mid Ohio Valley and need a good, affordable, reliable residential contractor that can take care of all your construction needs? Well, look no further, because Bowser Construction on Dudley Avenue in Parkersburg has you covered. They specialize in doors, decks, porches, kitchens, bathrooms, and room additions. So remember, just call Bowser at 304-485-6930.
Or baseball, or anything. It's just not. It's the same thing that I always tell people whenever it goes all the sponsors I had and stuff like that. With my ability to get sponsors, if I was a race car driver, I'd have no problem getting $50,000 a year in sponsorships. But you say somebody hey, I need a sponsorship for a race car. There's a lot of people oh yeah, that's cool. But you tell somebody I want a sponsor for fish, and I've got a lot of huh?
Exactly.
What are you doing? And I mean, a lot of people, I guess, never looked at professional fishing as a thing. Everyone knows race cars go in circles.
Look at Ike, what he does each year, the Ike Foundation and stuff. He gets bass boats away, flamboyant tackle boxes, whatever company he's sponsored by and stuff. He's given thousands and thousands of dollars back to the kids and stuff each year. And that big tournament stuff he puts on in New Jersey.
I will say one thing about Mike McInally is I have met him in person one time.
He's a blast.
Yeah, I will say what impressed me the most about him was I was at the Classic, and he was kind of in a rush because it's a Classic. Mike is here 1 minute giving a speech, here 1 minute giving a speech. And anyways, I just happened to catch him passing, and I was just, Mike. He stopped for a second, and he turned around, and I said, I just wanted to shake your hand, been a big fan my whole life. And I remember he walked, all the way from where he was at to me, just shake my hand. One thing I will say, a really firm handshake, which to me goes a long ways.
Yeah.
Really firm handshake, looked me right in the eyes. We just man, I really appreciate your support. And I was I really appreciate what you put out there and do for everybody. And I just, in the 2 minutes I got to talk to the guy, you could just really tell that he's him. Everything you see on TV, he is that person.
Exactly.
But he also has a
big heart for kids.
Big heart for kids. You see that a lot. It also, you can tell that he just really values his fans.
Yeah.
Because
I've literally sat and had dinner with Ike and his wife. Me and Missy's talked to him numerous times, and stayed in the same motel with him and everything else. And he goes out of his way to come up and talk to us.
He's a good dad,
and he's always done that. And I don't care where he sees us at. He makes time for us.
I'd like to take him fishing for a long time.
He's actually fished his high river.
Oh, I know. I'd like to fish with you.
So we was actually talking about the challenge one year, and he said, "Oh yeah," he said, "I got all kinds of waypoints on it if you want them." I was offering him waypoints where he fished out of New Martinsville and up in that area.
I wonder how often he makes that trip. It's not somewhere I'd travel.
No,
Man.
he told me what year it was. Last year he was down, but
Yeah, I know. They had a classic on the river one year, and it was so bad they said they're never coming back.
they call it the Dead Sea.
Ah, that's rough. And
Yeah.
that's where we fish.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
I've won some money on the High River, and I've lost a lot of money on the High
it makes
River.
you wonder. You might have an answer to this since you've been doing this so long. Headset okay? Yeah. Since you've been in this community so long, why is it that the river around here with the least amount of fish is where we have all the big money tournaments? How did that become a thing? Why is it not? I've often wondered why, like the trout we're fishing on the river doesn't fish like Stonewall, Summersville, Burnsville, Salt Ford, maybe the Yawk. You know, we have a lot of lakes around here with fish.
The High River's a challenge.
Not one that I mean, if I could just go get my butt kicked and still have fish.
But we put the money in to go to Lake Erie. We put the money to go into North Carolina, Florida, wherever it may be. But we always still come back to the High River.
Yeah.
And it's in our blood. I'd hate to say how many thousands of dollars I have put into this High River myself. And I still keep the abuse coming back to myself. I still keep kicking myself in the butt. I ain't fishing it no more next year. But I still keep going back because it is something that we have a passion for, something we love doing. And
so
that's all we know.
Yeah, I guess I'm the same. As much as I complained about the river, I remember at the end of last year, especially when I found out that I was going solo this year, and this whole thing is kind of evolving into a whole different beast now. I was like, I'm not fishing the river next year, and we'll just go fish the BFLs, fish by myself. And then the more I thought about it, number one, I've only won one big tournament on the river. And I really feel like I have to win a second one to prove that it wasn't just luck the first time, right? So part of me really has that itch that I want to go out there and win another big one on the river. But yeah, there is, like, what's drawing me, I'm fishing the river this year, what drew me back to it is, like, if you win the festival or if you win the challenge, people, if you're not part of this, you don't understand how much of a triumph that really is to win. Because again, anybody can go fish and fish a tournament, let's say on like Sharon Harris or Norman or Erie or any of the lakes we've talked about, where even if you're doing it wrong, you're still catching.
You're still catching large numbers.
Yeah, I mean, you can go to a place like Erie and not be making like great decisions or anything like that, not really fishing efficiently. And you can catch 1 pound, pound and a half fish sun up to sundown. I mean, just by number. Me and Lip stood by a rock wall and caught 40-pound fish in just a matter of, like an hour and a half. But on the High River, you don't have that luxury of if you're having a bad day that you're at least getting bites. People think I'm crazy when I say like I fished 2 days on that river. Never got a fish in the boat. I mean,
I've been many days like that.
yeah, and then for some sick reason we still go back out there.
And I've seen times during spawn pull in and catch 14 pound in a few minutes. And
well,
you done luck around the rest of the evening.
That's why, like with this, with the TV show and the podcast and all the stuff I'm doing on YouTube, it's really hard for me to want to fish tournaments on the river because in order to get good footage, right? Like if I'm trying to promote your products, it's hard to promote a product if one, I'm filming and not catching any fish, or two, if I'm filming and only catching small fish. And it's really hard to go to the river and guarantee that you're going to have any kind of success because, talking to Bobby Hartness here, sitting in the same spot you're sitting right now, I mean, he's won the festival once or twice. Twice. Okay, so if we're going to say that Bobby Hartness, if there's anybody that's a good fisher on the river, Bobby Hartness definitely has a reputation.
I agree with that.
But even talking to him, he'll tell you, like, he still goes to Erie. He even told us sitting there on the same couch, like, he's had plenty of days on the river where he didn't bring home fish. And, I mean, it's hard to want to fish tournaments there because, just as well as I do. And a lot of people that don't fish tournaments don't understand this, but if you fish tournaments, you really have to dedicate a lot of time to it. Because you're competing, people are always looking at you crazy. Like, practice for fishing. Well, how do you practice? They pattern. There's so many things that happen with fish. And if you can be on that body of water continuously and follow the fish through their seasonal patterns and stay on top of where they're located at, that's how you become a fit like a winner on the river.
That's
right?
how you become a Bobby Harkness.
Yeah, that's how you become a Bobby Harkness. And Bobby even told me whenever he won the Living the Dream Trail and got to go fish against the pros, he was a pro. So I worded that wrong. Bobby Harkness was a pro at one point. Even whenever he did that, I don't doubt for 1 second that a guy like him lacked the potential or the knowledge, especially in his day before the electronics. In his day, when it was a different talent that really took it apart, he was the kind of guy that had every bit of potential, just the same as anybody else out there. And he even said, he just couldn't compete with them because he didn't have the time or the water that they had. Because he was still working a full-time job, and half the guys that he was competing against were leaving the lake that they were at one weekend and then driving straight to the next one. And they were there for 4 weeks. And by the time the tournament showed up, those guys would pull up to the log and be like, well, Jimbo's going to be right there. Tom's going to be over there. There's a 6-pounder named Bertha we got on that log over there. And you get a week to pre-fish. It's a big game changer. I mean, even if you can just get on a new body of water, preferably 3 days just to drive a boat around and never cast a reel, never cast out one time. It takes every bit of 3 days on the lake just to get a lay of the land.
I agree with that.
Yeah, and you got Google Maps and stuff now, which you didn't have back then. But you had time on the water. But what I was getting at is to fish the river competitively and to dedicate that time on the water and still try to go out and film Erie and places like that where I can actually get good footage. That eats up a lot of time. But I'm telling you, man, it's just something about it this year. I feel like I have some unfinished business, I guess, left on the river. I can't walk away from it no matter how bad I want to.
You still won't. I mean, it don't matter this year. I've tried to walk away from the thing for
I'm getting to the point where I think even if I got lucky one year, won the challenge and the festival and every tournament in between, probably the next year I'd still be like, I can't let that river beat me. Because, you do get that mentality after a while fishing this river, like, can't let that river beat me.
I'm seeing, I ain't fishing in more tournaments. Next weekend, back out there again.
One of my best friends, Marshall, told me all year one year, if I don't cash a check this year on the river in a tournament, I ain't fishing no more tournaments. Yeah. But I remember he even went through the whole off season, I ain't fishing any. I said, yeah, you go. I ain't fishing any. I ain't fishing no tournaments all over this year. And then it was like a month before the first tournament, he talked to him on the phone. He's like, wow, we just paid all of our entry fees for the year. I guess you just couldn't walk away from it.
Just keep right on going.
It's just like a bad itch. You can't get rid of it. Yeah. So what's your plans? Let's finish it up with this stuff. What's your tournament schedule looking like?
Not for sure yet. Probably just the Bass Festival and the Southern Division of the Challenge and stuff this year.
I don't know if you know this, but my boat's kind of open now. I don't have a full-time partner. Alan White's going to be fishing the trail with me, but outside of the trail, if there's anytime you want to hop in a boat with somebody, I think we should fish a couple tournaments together.
We should do a couple tournaments.
Yeah, we could show people how to lose in fashion.
Yeah.
We could go out there and whip them with your stinkers.
There we go.
Yeah, that's a good video. Right?
Bass Festival might be a good place to start up.
Yeah. So do you have a partner for Bass Festival?
I do not.
Are you looking for one? Or?
I haven't decided yet, probably.
You might have your own boat by then. You might have somebody looking to partner up with you. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, if you do get your own boat, do you think that you're going to fish out of it, or do you think you're still going to be wanting to fight about it?
I'm not for sure yet.
Dumb question. How much experience do you have actually driving the boat?
A lot.
I was going to say a lot of guys you probably fish with, probably just through you in the driver's seat all the time.
Been there a lot.
So you already know where all the dangerous spots are on the river. Yeah. So, Skeeter, right? That's the boat you're looking at.
New 2025.
I hope you get it though. I think. Does your former partner Jim? Does he already have somebody lined out for Bass Festival?
I'm not for sure.
Do you think there's any chance of you and him fishing it together? I was gonna say because he's got a boat now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you even know if he's planning on fishing Bass Festival?
I'm not for sure. I haven't talked to him for a while.
Yeah. I know he was in the store the other day. I was talking to him.
I just stay in my own little world anymore.
It's easier that way.
But it is.
So, cool. Well, I guess I always end the podcast with this, Doug. To me, one of the most important things being outdoors, and something that really makes people appreciate the outdoors, is there is an aspect or a link of when you're outdoors fishing on the water, like that first sunrise in the morning, that crisp air, God, you can always see God in nature. And it's kind of a hard question to answer, and I get it, but to some aspect, a relationship with God makes the outdoors more enjoyable. For most people that I know, uh, the relationship with the outdoors is what gave them eventually their relationship with God. Right? There's a lot of guys that I know that they always say, I wasn't a hard, like I was a believer. I always believed in God and in Christ and stuff like that. But I wasn't a churchgoer. I wasn't a hardcore believer. I didn't follow the Bible or read the Bible. And then just being out in nature, something clicks. And I always ask, yeah. So I always ask this question. It always gets the wheels spinning. But I guess, when did that click for you? One and two.
I've always had it. Whether it's been sitting in the woods and stuff of a morning deer hunting, watching the sun come up.
Are you finally ready to buy that new pontoon boat for the family, or the new bass boat for yourself? Or maybe you even just need good, reliable, affordable service for the boat that you already have? Well, either way, you can get all of that at Seven Rivers Marine in Coolville, Ohio. Personally, I have trusted them with all of my marine needs for years, and honestly, you can't ask for a better group of people. Give them a call today at 740-846-0062. Again, that's 740-846-0062.
Through the trees and stuff. And I've always, that's God's creation. That's God's painting. And, thinking how beautiful and stuff.
That's honestly a really common, it's not a common answer the way you worded it, but like the generalization behind it is everybody I talk to, they've all had one thing in common. It's what you just said about when you see everything out there. Like, people don't understand if you've never really been out in nature. Whenever you really see it for what it is,
and the artwork changes every day.
Yeah.
I mean, it's never the same. And for someone to say they don't believe in God, how could you not when you walk outside and look around and see the nature and stuff?
You realize there's a creator.
Yeah.
There's no way to be out there. For me, it was like, again, I've always been God. I remember one day I was out there fishing, and it was when I was really starting to get a good grip on how all the works and stuff and the science behind fish. And one day I was just looking in the water. I think we might have been a Chautauqua, actually. It's real clear water. I mean, you just look in the grass. You see the grass, you see the bait fish. You see everything inside of this lake that makes this lake operate, keep everything alive, and how it's just its own little internal world, pretty much. And then you see everything one step out of it that feeds that lake.
Yeah.
And then you see, and before you know it, you start thinking like, now you're looking at the sun feed the trees, and it just clicks on you. Like, there's so much going on and so many things that have to happen that it's so hard to deny like an ultimate creator to make that right.
I remember one time I was fishing, first time I ever seen an eagle, and seen this eagle come down and grab a fish right out,
You can't make that
10 or 15 yards out from the boat. And I thought, that's what it's all about. I mean, the nature, being outside, like you say, seeing sunsets and stuff like that. You see something different every time you're out in the water, or out in the woods and stuff like that. And it's just amazing that,
Yeah. I think it also kind of helps you realize that you're not in control of anything here. Yeah. I don't know. It's a real feeling once you let it happen. It's my favorite question to ask people.
you're at peace and, God's in control.
Yeah, it's just, I always tell people, like, if you're not a firm believer, once you get out in nature and just realize how everything has to click together, the coolest part is you're a part of this.
Yeah.
Like, you're a part of that energy. And I don't know, it's a question I love to ask. I like your answer. I really did. Well, Doug, so I think everybody at home probably knows you a little bit better now. I appreciate you being on the show.
I appreciate you.
I'm really glad you're healthy. That's from the bottom of my heart, I could tell you that whenever we first got the news, especially my group of friends, greatly, deeply concerned. I don't know, man. Again, I'll say it again. Like, to see the last couple of years, to watch you go through this battle, and you should be an inspiration to everybody. I really hope you do.
It's in God's hands. I have went through some struggles and stuff with it, with the medication and stuff.
man, you've handled it well. Handled it like a tough man. I can tell you that. It's
With cancer and stuff like that, I've done some research and stuff. 80% of the men that end up getting cancer and stuff commit suicide. Whether it's financial or a burden on the family and stuff like that. And it has been a rough road.
yeah. Friends here to love you.
Oh yeah, and that's what's got me through it.
Oh yeah.
There's no turning back. I hate going to turn back and stuff, but I've been in some dark places.
I know. Yeah, we've had those conversations, but I know lots of us are having your treatment. Shoot you a text, see how you're doing, and I can only imagine if I'm doing this, if you probably get. There's a lot of times I almost feel bad for like trying to text you because I figure you get all sorts of people.
I've done this journey for 2 years, up until about 5-6 months ago. I done it all by myself. I was taking myself to the hospital. I was taking myself to treatments. Whatever it may be. And 5 or 6 months ago, my brother retired. My brother's doing it with me now, and it's been amazing.
Oh yeah, hey, I got to meet your brother a while back. I didn't even recognize him as your brother.
Yeah.
I guess there's that full head of hair.
It might be.
For y'all. Yeah. For anybody that knows, I'm not being a jerk. Doug didn't have hair before the cancer. He's always looked like this since the day I've known him. So, yeah. I don't know. You've been shaving your head for a long time.
Since '99.
Yeah, Mr. Clean and Flesh.
I went out and painted a well, and I come home that night. I couldn't get fingers through my hair, and I ended up shaving it all off that night.
It's just been a thing ever since. Oh, well, if it makes you feel better, you definitely look a lot better than your brothers. So,
I appreciate it. I got the looks of the family. Yeah. I got the brains, but I got the looks.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Does he own a boat?
He does not. He doesn't fish.
Yeah, he did get the brains.
Yeah, he's the loser of the bunch.
So if you don't want to be a fish, what does he do? Just stare at the wall?
I guess stare at the wall now. He's retired.
Boring life right there. Well, Doug, here's how we'll wrap it up. Number one, thank you for everything you do at the store. Again, everybody listening at home, if you enjoyed watching this podcast today, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. Big thanks to, I'm glad to have you on the podcast, but big thanks to Doug for letting us host this thing every week at Ohio River Outdoors. And thanks to Jan Dills for making it happen. Doug, buddy, I appreciate you.
Appreciate you.
We'll see you around. Yes, sir.